Press pause, put the controller down. It's time to talk about the gaming industry. You threw me off, you son of a bitch. My name is TJ Leo.
And I'm Andrew. You shouldn't have brought up Leroy Jenkins.
Now I want some chicken.
Yeah. And we don't have it, despite what I said.
No, we definitely do not. And this is Press Pause, a gaming podcast, episode 21. Keeping it going. How are you, my friend?
Good, tired, but good. It was a simpler time when you could just put out a video of like a WoW raid gone wrong, and it would just become the biggest thing. Now there's so many viral videos every single week that it gets lost.
It's true.
Yeah.
His was fake, though.
Yeah, well, I what I've read is that video itself was fake, but it was a reenactment of something that actually happened.
Occurred. Okay.
So they were trying to recapture it to show the world what had happened. I don't know
That's
how
fair.
accurate it was to the actual event, or I don't know if that anecdote is even true, but it's what I've heard.
I believe it. I think the Leroy Jenkins part actually occurred, but all the speech before it was enhanced for.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, it's all just them making nerd jokes.
And like, you can also clearly see him, like, popping off all the eggs in that video.
Yeah.
And, like, just running around. It's like, okay, yeah, this is clearly a setup. But, I mean, stupid shit like that happens in raids all the time. Like, you wandered just a little too far and you entered into the aggro zone of a monster, and now it's all kicking off. So I can absolutely believe that it's a more or less a reenactment of something that actually happened.
And Ixia's lair, man.
Yeah.
The eggs. Stay away from the eggs. Yeah.
Right.
Man,
So, yes, tired, but good otherwise.
And why are you tired, sir?
Because I have been playing... I went from one game directly into another that they're both the life-absorbing type of game. It has affected my sleep schedule.
Oh, so you've been up late playing games.
Yeah, I've been up late playing games.
And,
it's really hard to resist when one of them's on your phone and you can just pick it up, lying there in the dark, just playing it like, fuck, it's 3 a.m.
Is this something for the What We're Playing section?
Yes, it is.
Okay. We shall save that for when we get there. Well, I'm pretty low energy myself, actually. I think my body's still adjusting to how dark it gets so early.
Oh, yeah.
It's brutal. I mean, Halloween Day, it got dark at like 6:45, I want to say. And it's been dark here since like 6 o'clock at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
and when we say it's been dark, we say it's like the middle of the night kind of dark.
Yeah, pitch dark.
Not just like, oh, the sun is setting. It's like, no, it is fucking midnight.
It's over. Yeah, it's ended. Yeah,
and your body does use light as a way of managing your wakeful, like your wake sleep cycle.
Yep.
It's one of the reasons why they tell you that if you have trouble getting up in the morning, you should go to a window and look outside. And don't look directly into the sun, obviously,
no.
But like
get some light absorption.
Like look into the sunlight, because we've evolved to respond to the wavelengths of light emitted by the sun to signal our bodies to wake up.
This is true. Yeah, that's why a lot of people like those like sunlight alarms. That slowly come up.
Yeah, my mom has she's got it's like a little LED light that she puts on a table during this part of the year so that even when it gets to evening really early, or I should say, like, even when it gets dark really early in the evening, she still has a light source to sort of tell her body, no, keep staying awake. Which I don't like, but yeah, I mean, it's,
it doesn't work for everybody.
My eyes are sensitive to having light shined directly into them, so
yeah,
it's not really my thing. But
yeah, I'm still getting used to.
Yeah, the light on
the light in my eye.
Yeah.
It's actually not that bad. I thought it was going to be a lot worse, but the show definitely looks a lot worse without it. So,
Yeah,
you
it
know,
looks kind of flat.
well,
Yeah,
I like it shadow mode.
yeah,
You know, it's pretty bad. And all of a sudden, by the way, the light is remembering my settings.
that's good. One less thing for you to have to futz around with before we get started.
Yeah, tell me about it. All right, let's get on to housekeeping and corrections. As a reminder, we are on Spotify if you want the audio only edition of Press Pause, a gaming podcast. The link is in the description. And we have a correction kind of from last week, more of an elaboration. We were talking about the game Redacted last week, and I couldn't remember what it was that made that game stand out. You know, I was basically saying, like, I remember putting this on my list because of something, but I don't recall what it is.
It was so memorable, but I can't remember why.
Yeah, I mean, it had a gorgeous art style, and it was kind of like Hades, like from what I could tell. But I'm like, there was something else to it, and then I, went and looked it up afterwards, and it's because it takes place in the Callisto Protocol universe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, why they decided to not put that in the title, is a little strange to me. But maybe that's because it didn't sell well, so they didn't want that associated with it. I don't know.
Mm.
But yeah, I really, really loved Callisto Protocol. I thought it was absolutely underrated. And if you like Dead Space, and who doesn't, give Callisto Protocol or Callisto Protocol a chance, because it is excellent. Dare I say, I think I've said this on the show before, but I actually like it better than the Dead Space remake. Take that for what you will.
Yeah, I haven't played it.
Have you played Dead Space?
I've played a little bit of the remake.
Yeah.
I don't think I had like a 360 or a PS3. Well, I know I definitely didn't have a PS3, but I'm not sure I even had a 360 when the original came out. Same story with Mass Effect. I've explained that before.
Yeah.
But yeah, I my sister has the remake, and I played a little bit of it at her place, and I was like, yeah, okay, this is cool. This is like a sci-fi Resident Evil 4, which is great. Okay, cool. Pretty much what I expected.
Yeah, I love Dead Space, but I think Callisto Protocol does better because its melee combat is much cooler. Yeah, play both. They're both fantastic. It really sucks that Callisto Protocol didn't get the sales that it needed.
Yeah,
it's really unfortunate. All right, did you have any corrections from last week? Okay. Then let's move on to what we're playing. I'll go first this week.
Okay.
Switched up a little bit. So, surprisingly, in the 1 week since last episode, I did complete Uncharted 4.
Okay.
And Uncharted Lost Legacy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, well, Lost Legacy is a lot shorter. If I remember correctly, I think it was meant as DLC for 4. And then they turned it into a standalone because it was getting too big.
Okay.
So it's not quite the size of an Uncharted game. The Uncharted games range from about 22 chapters to 26 chapters, I think.
And
this
what's that broken down into, like, hours?
20 to 24, 25.
That's a good length.
Yeah, the Uncharted games are long. Some longer than others. I think 3 is the shortest one. Of the main series. But the Lost Legacy is only 9.
Oh, wow.
So it's quite a bit shorter. But it does have this one chapter, I think it's chapter 4, that's an open world area with a lot of optional objectives. So that can extend the life of the game.
Interesting.
Which I did. So it didn't extend it that much.
Metro Exodus does that as well, where it's broken up into chapters, and some of the chapters are big open world areas, and some of them are linear. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of neat, but at the same time, I'm like, I fucking better be sure that I've done everything I want to do here, because I can't come back.
Yeah, Uncharted Lost Legacy does a good job of telling you that you've seen everything.
Okay.
Because you basically get a map of the area. And the character draws symbols on the map for things that she can see once you get to like a viewpoint.
Okay.
Um, so you can kind of check everything off. Um, yeah, Uncharted 4 I think is my favorite of the Uncharted's, which is a swap from what I thought before, where I thought 2 was the best. But I do think 4 is the best. It's so movie like. The combat is so much more dynamic. The visuals are stunning. I can't say that enough. I went back and looked at Last of Us Part 2, and I do think Uncharted 4 looks better than Last of Us Part 2. Um, yeah, and Lost Legacy looks great as well. Lost Legacy is not as good as the other Uncharted games, but it doesn't feature the main character, and it's like a side story, and it felt rushed, but it was still great. It was still like in comparison to other single player games. Holy crap,
Yeah.
Lost Legacy is just amazing. But compared to other Uncharted games, it's definitely the weakest. But and then my buddy and I continued to play the Remnant 2 yesterday with the DLC because we beat the game already. But the DLC finally finished coming out. I bought the season pass like a year and a half ago or something like that, a year ago. And I was like just waiting for all of the DLC to come out so we could replay it.
Yeah, I don't really go in for the season passes because it's like, what if one of the DLC sucks? I'd rather just buy them piecemeal, like after I've heard that they're good, so I can skip crappy ones.
Yeah, so we've played 2 out of the 3 DLCs, and about a quarter to a half of the last one. And the first one was ginormous. It could have been considered like a whole new game. It was huge. The second one was tiny. It was weird. It was like just another area rather than like a whole new adventure. And then the fourth one, or the third one that we're playing, that we haven't beat yet, seems to be on the same level as the first one. So, for $19.99 or whatever it was, it's a great deal for what we've got so far, and 3 new classes, which is great as well. So, yeah, that game is hard to describe. I think I'll talk about Remnant 2 on another show because there's a lot I can say about it.
Okay.
But yeah. I also went back in time and played. Do you remember this game, Submarine Titans?
No.
It was a real-time strategy game on the PC.
No.
Yeah. Google an image of it. You might remember it because I used to play it all the time.
Yeah. Okay. Let me look this up real quick.
Yeah, it was really really weird.
Um.
It was basically a real-time strategy game, a la like Command and Conquer.
Yeah.
But it was underwater.
Yeah, I'm looking at some imagery from it. It doesn't
ring a bell.
Yeah, it just looks like every RTS game at the time with with an underwater theme.
Yeah, so the differences in it that stand it apart are the things that you build don't require a builder to build. They just require you just drop it off.
Yeah, you just slap it down. Okay.
Well, kind of. There's a unit that builds things, but he doesn't need to stay there while it's being built. So he basically drops off like a package.
Yeah.
And it just builds itself, kind of like an automated building thing. So you just have the assembler go around dropping everything that you need to build, and those things build over time.
Yeah, I've played games like that.
Yeah, very cool, like that idea. And then the other thing that makes it unique is that there are depth levels for how deep you go. So there's so not only is it a horizontal plane, but it's also got I think 5 vertical planes as well.
Okay.
And enemies have to be on the same vertical plane to attack each other.
All right.
It's not great, honestly. It is very nostalgic for me.
There were a lot of RTS games at that time. It was really kind of the height of their popularity, and not all of them were good. It's a really, really hard thing to balance those games. Also, I'm looking at the cover art, and it's
very 90s.
Yeah, well, the text down below that says real-time strategy, I'm pretty sure, is that the Xbox font, like the original Xbox font? Because it kind of looks like it.
Titan, like you're talking about the cover? or the
Yeah.
box art for the
Yeah.
game. I do recognize it. Yeah, I think that might be the Xbox.
I mean, obviously, it didn't originate with the Xbox,
No,
but
no.
it's hard to tell because the letters X, B, and O are not represented in the words real time strategy.
Yeah.
So it's hard to say for sure, but I'm pretty sure. Like I'm looking at the way that the stroke, like the horizontal strokes, like extend beyond, like on the A and the E,
Just like
and
the B.
just like the B on the Xbox. I'm like, that looks pretty similar.
Yep. Yeah, I don't know. I don't remember what year that game came out or anything like that. I just remember playing it a lot, but going back and playing it, you
Let
know.
me see here. I'm on the Wikipedia page. It says August 2nd, 2000.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So it was as early as I figured it was. Okay.
Yeah.
Pre Xbox.
Yeah.
Pre Xbox. Yeah. The thing that really makes it doesn't suck. It's just it's an RTS that doesn't really push the boundaries. But the thing that makes it, I think, not work for probably a lot of real time strategy fans is that there's no diagonal axis. So it's like an isometric view, but you can only move up, down, left, and right. Yeah, so units can't move like this. They can only move like this.
So
this.
if you tell them to go to a location that's diagonally away from where they are, they have to like stair step their way up there.
Yeah.
Oh, you can't do that, guys. That's like
there might be more than 4 axes, but it's not like a complete 360. Like it's
that's like the most basic shit. Like even if you don't, I don't know if is it like fully 3D or is it like sprite based?
It's sprite based. Yeah.
You don't have to draw a separate angle for every single one. You can just have them go diagonally.
Yeah,
but you
just
can't.
go like this.
You can't have. Yeah. You know what else does that and is actually worse? I think. The DOS version of Duke Nukem 3D does not seem to at least the last time I played it. Does not seem to understand how to parse diagonal mouse movement. So it does the stair stepping thing. When you like look up and to the left, it's really bad. Source ports fix that. Like this is just my experience from playing it on DOSBox, and I don't remember what it was like 30 years ago because it was 30 years ago or just about 28 years ago, whatever. But the last time I played it on DOSBox, I noticed it immediately, and I was like, "Oh Jesus Christ!" Well, it's back to a source port for me. It's back to fucking eDuke 32.
Yeah,
because I wanted to see like how much do these source ports improve it, and I was like, "Oh fuck, they improve it a lot."
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, so it has its problems for sure, but I enjoyed it. But quickly uninstalled it after I realized how basic it was.
You were thinking of one of our potential upcoming topics. You must have been when you decided to play that.
Yeah. Nothing from the game made the list. I don't think. I could be wrong. We'll have to get to the list. And finally, a little bit of a rant here.
Oh, go for it.
So played Black Ops 6.
Oh, yeah?
As I mentioned last week, I've played Zombies and I've played the multiplayer mode, single player, and it's great. Runs fantastic. Had my buddy over yesterday, and before we played Remnant 2, I was like, hey, let's kick things off with some Black Ops 6 split screen, because we used to play Call of Duty like religiously, basically. And oh boy, where do I start? So first off, this actually could make the list of gaming pet peeves. Okay. First off, one thing I didn't even like register in my brain because I did it without even thinking about it when I played in single player was you have to have an Activision account to play. Oh. So not only do you have to have an Xbox account, you have to have an Activision account. Yeah, they're starting this thing too.
But they're owned by Microsoft. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah. So there's that. And then when I got in, we activated the second controller and tried to play split
Oh,
screen.
don't,
And
do not,
it's
don't
going to
tell
get
me.
worse. It's
No,
going to get
don't,
worse.
please, no. Oh, I know where this is going.
There was no button. First of all, there was no button that says, you know how on most split screen games it says, press start to join.
Mm-hmm.
Couldn't find that anywhere. I'm like, how the fuck do you play split screen? Controllers on. Oh, wait, you must have to be signed into another Xbox account. So I'm like,
Yep.
okay. So
Here it
I'm
comes. I knew it was coming.
which isn't a big deal because I have a guest account set up so that if this ever was a problem, I'm like, just log into my guest account.
But guess what? It's going to get worse, isn't it?
It's going to get worse. So it goes in, and then that doesn't work, and I'm like, what the hell's happening? So then I look online, and there's like 16 different links for how to play split screen on Black Ops 6, and none of them explain how to do it except for like 2 of them. And the 2 that do say all you have to do is just boot it up, and then when you get in, a button will appear that says press here to join player 2. I'm like, nope, it doesn't do that. I don't know what you're smoking. It's not happening. And then finally I go into like a deep subreddit somewhere. And it says, make sure that before whoever's playing split screen plays split screen with you, that they start up the game under their account first.
Yep.
So that they can both sign into their Activision account.
Yep.
And agree to their terms and service.
Yep.
Otherwise, you won't get the option to play split screen.
Yep. I knew that was coming.
So I was like, okay, well, dude, you got to sign up for an Activision account. So he goes and signs it up.
That's 4 accounts you need to use to play one game.
One game, yep. And it gets worse.
For one that is all owned by one company.
Yep. So he signs up for it. This is half an hour later after we try to get it to work.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, okay. So we close the game. I boot it back up under my account, and there's still no button that says press to join anywhere. Can't find it.
This reminds me of the last time I tried to stream a movie on the PlayStation Network. Just a never-ending sea of trouble.
Yeah. So we were like, why isn't it working? It's not working. So I was like, we were about to give up, and I'm like, you know what? Sign into the game back under your account, and we'll see if that works. We signed into the game under his account, or my guest account.
Mm-hmm.
And then when we get to the main menu, I see a little blip that comes up that says, player 2, press start to join. And I'm like, click, and it works.
It just worked.
It just works. But if I go under my account and he tries to join, that button never appears.
Now, here's my question: Can you even play this game offline, or do you have to be connected?
Yes, you have to be connected, but you can play with bots. Why you have to be connected?
Yeah,
I don't know.
That's horseshit. Because normally the solution, like back in the day, the solution to that shit would be play it offline.
Yeah, in previous Call of Duties, there was a play offline mode, and that's where you would do split screen stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not an option for Black Ops 6.
Yeah.
But it gets worse.
So what you're saying is this would be a really bad time to get into Call of Duty.
It's a good time to get into Call of Duty if you're going to play alone. But if you're not going to play alone, don't play split screen because it gets worse. So we boot up the game. We create a lobby, and we set up the game settings, pick a map, pick domination. I get him to go in and create his custom loadouts and all score streaks and all that good stuff. We get all that set up. We enter the game, and it seems to work perfectly fine. But the first thing I notice is the significant graphical downgrade from single player mode. And when I say significant, it's like obvious as the day is long. It also doesn't quite feel like 60 frames per second. It's almost like it's like 45, 50.
It wouldn't surprise me.
Which is weird because previous Call of Duty games were fine in split screen. So I was like, that's really weird. We continue to play, and then I get the top kill streak in the game, which is called Dreadnought, which is basically just this giant plane that comes in and can shoot down missiles and artillery and machine gun fire from above. I do all that, and then when it exits, my screen goes black. And it stays black. and it doesn't
Yep.
come back. And so I'm like, dude, go find me. I must be somewhere. I'm sitting at
Yeah.
the
Now, are you
spawn.
still at this point? Are you still like feeling vibrations in your
Yep.
controller if you pull the trigger? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I find he finds me and I can move around.
Yeah.
It's just for whatever reason the
Just
game
the
didn't.
rendering just quit.
Yeah, it just didn't render my split screen.
Yeah.
So we had to quit. So we quit and then we pick another map and I switch my score streaks because I'm like Dreadnought must be bugged. I'll switch
Yeah.
it to something else. So I switch it to the
Mhm.
chopper, which I didn't realize is a manned chopper, just like the Dreadnought. So I'm like, oh shit, am I gonna get the black screen again? And I didn't. But then all of a sudden he starts screaming, "What the fuck is what? Why can't I throw a flash grenade?" And then he realizes that for some reason the game completely changed his custom loadout. So he doesn't have his flashbangs anymore. He doesn't have his frag grenades anymore. His field upgrade is completely different. But the guns that he picks are the same.
Oh my
We're like,
god.
why? What? How did the game glitch those specific choices? That's fucking weird.
I kind of wonder if this is like an issue with the game being so big and being worked on by so many
So many
teams.
people.
Each of those Call of Duty games involves like 4 different studios within Activision. You've got who's the main developer for this one? Is it Treyarch? Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
So
sure
you've got
Treyarch,
Treyarch handling the primary stuff, and then like multiplayer
Raven's in
maps
there.
will be doing like Raven will be doing it, and then you'll have Sledgehammer or something. One of their many other studios will be doing like the zombies mode.
Yeah, the
When
Call of
you've
Duty
got
mines, as you call them.
Yeah, exactly, the Call of Duty mines. And when you've got that many people working on that many different pieces of the game, you're never going to have everybody. You're not going to have harmonization across the development, and so little things like, hey, does this reset after the match does? Well, these two teams say yes it does, but this team says no it doesn't. So like shit behaves unexpectedly in ways that you don't necessarily foresee inside the project, because you're with your team doing your thing, and the player is looking at it as a whole cohesive piece, and they see those problems immediately.
Yep. Yeah, and obviously split screen was not a priority for them.
Yeah.
Because the single player works great. Had no issues. So we quit out of there once he realizes that his kit sucks. He fixes it, and then we go back in for another gameplay, and you'll never guess. Now my score streaks have switched back to what they were before.
Oh, of course.
Which includes the Dreadnought. So I use the Dreadnought, and I get the black screen again.
Yep.
So I pitched my controller across the room and said, "We're not playing this anymore."
That's a bug.
Yeah, lots of bugs. So yeah, Activision fix split screen mode in Black Ops 6 because when it works, it's fun. When it works,
Yeah.
go fix it. All right. Thus ends my rant.
You think with all that Microsoft money they just got, they could fucking take care
Honestly,
of that shit.
More than a number of times when I was playing that and we were having these issues, I'm like, you guys just got bought for what, $67 billion or whatever it was?
Whatever the insane amount of money was.
You can afford to fucking fix these issues.
Yeah. And when we say you, we don't mean the developers. We mean Activision. You can afford to hire more testers to fucking cover all these bases.
Yeah.
Especially since testers are paid peanuts anyway.
Yeah. There is a 0% chance that they didn't know that these issues were there if they had testers. It was literally the first 3 matches that we played. Like,
yeah.
Issue every single match. Brutal.
And somebody who makes infinitely more money than them said, fuck it, ship it anyway. We'll fix it in a patch, maybe.
Yeah. Really fucking brutal.
Yeah.
All right, what have you been playing? I'm done my rant.
What have I been playing? Well, I decided to squeeze in one last-minute spooky game, and I played a game that I've been looking at playing for a while, and had just never gotten around to, called Dead End Road. Which is a super basic, super lo-fi game. It starts, you go to some old lady and you do some ritual, and the ritual goes bad, and you run to your car, and then you actually this is kind of funny because it's in this way it's similar to the Consuming Shadow. You drive around rural English roads and stop in various rural English towns to do things. Except you're actually in control of the car, and there's shit on the road that you have to avoid.
Is this like
There,
Oregon Trail?
um, I kind of like, you know what? I hadn't thought of it like that, but I guess it is kind of like Oregon Trail.
Cross country Canada.
I was gonna say it's kind of like cross country Canada as well. Um, and you're driving down the road. You're in full control of the vehicle, like forwards, backwards, steering, all that stuff. You even got the horn, of course. You can honk the horn. Yep, yep. And you're going down the road, and you got to. It's pitch black, of course. Your headlights suck, so you've got like maybe 20 feet of visibility. And shit likes to fly out at you, like different vehicles on the road. It doesn't appear to matter that you're in England. I seem to see vehicles driving in both directions up and down the road, so I don't
fail.
I think. Well, the other thing is that because the game goes for a really lo-fi graphical aesthetic, like really really low poly stuff, it could just be that the car is in fact traveling in its intended direction, and it's just a symmetrical model from front to back.
Just doesn't look like it. Yeah,
and I just can't.
Which
tell.
way is it going?
It's an obstacle. It needs to be avoided. But then there's also shit like garbage cans will be in the road, and sometimes they'll be flying out at you. And then there's also sanity effects because sometimes the stuff that's in the road isn't real. It's pretty easy to know what is and isn't real. You know, like when you're driving down and you suddenly go into like what I would describe as the hell tunnel, where it's just you're now inside a tube that's a bunch of screaming faces melded together. You know, in Doom. You know, in Doom, there's that texture of all the screaming faces that sometimes scrolls on the walls. It's kind of like that, except now it's on the inside of a tube. It's not real. It's like a few seconds later, it just flashes back, and you're like, oh, okay. Very Eternal Darkness-esque. And then you go to a town, and there'll be like shops you can go to, and you can buy stuff. I think you're probably supposed to acquire certain things to do whatever needs to be done, but I don't know. There isn't really any explanation in the game. There's maybe documentation somewhere that I haven't bothered to look up because it's so simple. But it's neat. It was, God, what did I pay for it? Like $2 at most, maybe. I played it a few times. I was like, okay, this is cool. But so I did that. But the two big things that I've been doing is, first of all, I finished Death Stranding.
Nice. That ending, though, eh? 2 hours, man.
That is the most unnecessarily long ending sequence in any video game I've ever seen. It's just...
Do you see what I mean, though, about how his endings tend to feel like, oh shit, I've ran out of time. Now I gotta explain everything. That's like the primary example I give is like, play Death Stranding.
It also didn't need to take that long to explain stuff. Like, okay, I get it. Amelie is the extinction, is the extinction entity, blah, 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 blah. Okay. Yeah, I get it. I get it. I figured that was pretty early on.
When your ending is the length of a full-length movie.
Yeah.
It's like, that's what I mean. Like, I don't think he's good at explaining things. I think making them convoluted is a bit of a crutch for him, and he needs to like start honing in on like.
Yeah, well, what really bugged me is that you can't just set the controller down and just watch, because there are sections where you have to start moving around for the ending to continue, and like I was sitting there like trying to scroll social media just to pass the time. And I had my controller on my leg, and whenever it stopped, I would just sort of fiddle with the stick until I'd run the arbitrary distance to trigger the next bit of story. Like it just went on for so fucking long.
Yeah,
it was agonizing. It's so long that they play the credits twice. Which I've never seen before.
Yeah, it's something special.
Oh
I don't know. I
God.
don't know. I'm not sure how else to explain it other than it's very, very special.
Everything preceding that was fine. It was a good game, but
Yeah.
that was
Yeah. When
the
your ending
ending is
needs a
supposed
couple
to
of
be the
checkpoints.
reward.
Yeah.
Yeah, your ending needs checkpoints. Yeah, that's an excellent way of putting it because I felt like I needed to take a break.
Yeah. Like, what if the power went off like an hour and 45 minutes in?
Well, I think there are because I'm pretty sure I saw the little now saving thing.
So there are checkpoints.
I
There
think
are
yeah,
checkpoints
but
in the
I didn't
ending.
want to risk checking it
No.
because then I'd be like, oh fuck, 45 minutes I got to sit through again.
Yeah. Yeah. Brutal. Great
It's
game,
just
but brutal ending.
great game, but I should not dread the ending because now I'm like, oh god, am I gonna have to do that for Death Stranding 2? Like, it's gonna make me
Yeah.
want to not finish the game because then I'll have to sit through that shit.
I mean, I'm hoping that there's just a lot less to explain in two, and two is just going to be more
Hopefully,
focused on gameplay and the
yeah,
experience more than what the fuck is going on. But who knows? Like I said, I'm still of the opinion that I think Death Stranding 2 is going to be him being much more hands off and more of just
yeah.
a
We'll see.
executive producer kind of a person. But
Yeah.
we'll see. Cool.
Um, but then the other thing I played, and I brought this up last week, was Chrono Trigger. Once I finished Death Stranding, I jumped full on into Chrono Trigger, and then that's just where I've lived for the last week,
One of the best
basically.
games of all time.
Yeah, yeah. I was like, oh yeah, I'll play the yeah, but okay, I'm in. I'm
Yeah.
fully in.
You can't not
Um,
be in when you start playing that game. It's just
no,
perfect.
you can't. It's and like I said, having it on my phone makes it super easy to just play it whenever. You
So
know,
good.
I don't have to set everything else aside. I can play. While I'm doing something else, I can set it down and finish something. And I gotta say, that game is not as long as I remembered it being.
Well,
That
you also know
probably
exactly where to go and what
I
to
know
do. And
exactly. I that is true.
back
I
in the
do
day, it was
know.
fucking the longest shit.
Yeah, but even like I even feel like in terms of even knowing where to go and what to do, I feel like Final Fantasy VI is probably longer because there's
Two
so
games,
much in that
basically.
game.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that game could have been a part one and part two for sure.
yeah. The sort of what I would describe as the cleanup phase in that game where you're at the point where you can go to the ending, but hey, there's all these other things you could do. There's a lot more of that in Final Fantasy VI because
Oh
there's
yeah,
12 playable characters and you have to recruit them all back. Chrono Trigger doesn't have that many,
no,
but it does have them. But I'm at Death Peak right now, trying to get Chrono back to life. Um, I've been I've been doing something on this playthrough that I haven't really done before, which is I've been using characters that I've kind of not used all that much.
mm-hmm.
I didn't really use Isla and Robo that much in the original game
Mm.
because they don't get magic. Robo has some abilities that do elemental damage, but Isla has none.
Yeah,
Um,
no, I didn't really use Isla either. I used Robo a lot though. I like Robo.
yeah,
He's got that
yeah.
heal beam.
Robo's cool. Yeah. But there are some places later in the game, like the Black Omen, where there are enemies that you can only defeat with elemental damage, and if you
Mm,
don't, they either don't take damage, or they barely take any damage, or they do some kind of counterattack.
yeah,
And you basically need to do that with Chrono Marley and Luca, or Chrono Frog and Luca, because they will give you those elemental attacks. And I mean, you can use Magus as well, but Magus doesn't have the single target magic attacks. He only has
multiple.
the multiple targets. So, um, but I've been using Isla and Robo more often than I used to. Also, I never really used the charm ability, which lets you steal things from enemies. Because I've never been much for those skills in games because it's
Me either.
usually like oh, you got a potion or some other useless shit. Um, there's good shit you can steal in this game.
Yeah.
There's really good shit you can steal. Like, I'm stealing elixirs, I'm
Mm,
stealing weapons. I made tens of thousands of gold just selling weapons that I was stealing off of common respawnable enemies. Like,
that's
I
cool.
basically don't have to worry about money anymore in the game.
That's
It's
cool.
crazy.
Yeah,
And
the only game I've. Mhm.
apparently you can even steal some of the shit that is supposed to be one time only, like there's that blue pyramid that gives you either the sword or the helmet.
The one in the forest, yeah.
Yeah, apparently you could steal another one of those helmets from
That's
something
cool.
later on in the game. Apparently you can steal some of the rainbow shell equipment from some enemies in the game. So, like, holy shit. So that's been fun.
That's cool.
And I also, and this really blew me away. I found, and we talked about this on BlueSky, I found an area that I'd never been to before. So apparently there's this thing called the hunting grounds in the prehistoric era, which I've seen reference to in the text, like the characters talk about it, but I've never found it on any of my prior playthroughs. So I always assumed it was like just a story thing, or maybe like a weird translation, screw up or something. No, it's an area. It's just that it doesn't have any kind of indication that it's a forest thing. There's no graphic to it, because you know how you go to the mountains and there's like a little trail or like a cave that indicates
there's always a
symbol.
Entry
Point.
Yeah.
There's nothing like that for the hunting grounds. I just found it by accident, and I was like, what the fuck is this? What the fuck is this? How have I never seen this before?
Yep.
So there's not a whole lot to do there, especially by the time I found it. You just get, because in the prehistoric era, you don't buy things, you get like horns,
petals, you get items to trade, right?
And feathers and talons, I think, that you trade different pairs of to get items. And by the time I found it, like everything that they give away at that shop is now well below where my characters are. I have much better gear. So it's kind of a moot point, but it was like, oh, that's neat. I fucking had no idea.
Yeah, it was an item grinding area, basically.
Yeah.
Hence the name.
So I've been having a lot of fucking fun with Chrono Trigger, which of course I am. It's Chrono Trigger.
It's Chrono Trigger, yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Square, remake it.
Yeah.
Remaster it. Do something. Do something with it.
I've said this before, but I would love to see it with like the same kind of art direction.
Yeah, the Dragon Ball.
The Dragon Ball Z fighting games with the cell shading and everything, because, oh my god.
And orchestrated music.
It looks so good.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's one of the only games left on the list of, like, absolute classic gems that need to be brought forward. There's not very many of those left.
There is a mobile version. I believe there's a PC version as well, which is like a port of the mobile version.
There's a Steam and a portable. That's it.
Yeah, it's just the Super Nintendo graphics with, I think, a few tweaks here and there, a little bit.
Yeah.
Because I had the mobile version on a device like a really long time ago. And I think there might have been some tweaks. I know there were some tweaks for the mobile version of Secret of Mana. They added some effects to the old graphics, but like I think they put like, oh, here's some reflections in the water. Like now you can see like a dim version of your character sprite flipped upside down or something like that. Just little things like that, which I don't mind. But God, that game would look gorgeous with like cell shaded 3D graphics.
Oh yeah, 150%.
Mm-hmm.
Do it, Square. Do something. Bring it back.
Did you ever get around to playing Chrono Cross, or is that still?
No, I found out that I don't own it. I thought I bought the Radical Dreamers edition, but apparently not. So it must have been in either the Game Pass catalog or the PS Plus catalog at some point. And it's just not there anymore. I don't know. It's very strange. But yeah, so I checked my Xbox catalog of games, and I checked my PlayStation catalog of games, and it's just not there. So one day though, it's on my list. It's on my list, which is getting very large.
Yep.
Very, very large indeed.
So that does it, I think, for what we've played.
That is indeed. So you know what time it is.
Ooh, I bet it's letter time.
It's letter time. It's letter time.
You know what you should do? At some point, I'll say, oh, it's letter time. You go, no, fuck you. It's not. It's something else. Just to mix it up.
I will do that.
But now you can't, because now I'll be expecting you to do that every single time.
Kind of like chicken.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which we still do not have.
No. I actually ate chicken for dinner, so technically
Oh, okay.
I was ahead of you in that game.
Ah.
Mm. Mm. Today's letter comes from Sim31. He writes in, thought you'd appreciate this look at the top 10 player count comparing 10 years ago to today.
This
And
is
he's
on
on
Steam?
PC. Yeah.
Okay.
So I thought it was interesting because there's a few things that didn't change in 10 years.
Yeah, I'm willing to bet Counter-Strike Go is one of them.
So 10 years ago, I'll list them in no particular order because this was like a current player count, not a peak player count. So,
Yeah.
It varies from time to time, but for the most part, they're pretty accurate. So top 10 games 10 years ago was Dota 2,
Mm-hmm.
Counter-Strike Global Offensive,
Yeah.
which is Go, right?
Yeah, CSGO.
Yeah. Team Fortress 2, Gary's Mod, which is funny.
Mm-hmm.
Civ 5, my personal favorite Civ. Binding of Isaac Rebirth.
Yeah.
That game's not as good as I remember people saying it was. Like, I missed the boat on that game, and then I went to play it, and I'm like, there's better games in this genre.
Yeah, well, I mean, a lot of games have taken a lot of influence from it and
Yeah,
kind of.
I think
I
guess it was like the first.
It was one of the first big like, hey, let's do this. Let's do this crazy little roguelike twin stick shooter.
Yeah,
and other people said, hey, that's great, and they ran with it and they made their
better
own.
stuff.
And, yeah,
Skyrim,
of course.
Payday 2.
Oh yeah.
Football Manager 2015.
Yeah,
which is
those games are super popular.
Yeah, that
in
would
countries where soccer is really big.
Given that this was 10 years ago, that game would have just came out because it would have been November 2014, so it would have just came out. And Warframe.
Yeah.
Can't believe how old that game is.
Yep.
I've tried to play it like 6 or 7 times, and every time I'm like, why is this popular? I don't know.
Yeah, I've thought about playing it, but then I look at it and I go, you know what? That's a thing that I probably won't enjoy playing as much as watching. Like, I'm sure it's good, but I just don't feel like it's really for me.
Yeah, it's I don't know. I don't know. It just doesn't feel fun to me. I don't know. I just didn't. Maybe it's not for me. Clearly.
Yeah, and that's fine.
Yeah, and that's fine. Today, taken from the top 10 current players count list, Counter-Strike 2, which is interesting. Did that really do well? I thought it didn't do well, but apparently.
I forget if Counter-Strike 2 is like CS:GO rebranded or what.
Oh, maybe.
Let me check. It would help if I could spell it.
Because it had a peak
I'm not
player
really
count.
a Counter-Strike guy.
Yeah, I'm not. I'm definitely not. It had a peak player count today of 1.2 million, which is crazy.
Let's see here. CS:GO. Come on, show me. Yeah, developed as an updated version of the previous entry. So I guess it doesn't replace CS:GO, but it's like, here's everything from CS. Like, I guess it's kind of like Left 4 Dead 2, which is like, here's everything from the last game plus all the new stuff.
Yeah.
Which, sure, fine.
Overwatch 2, same thing. Destiny 2, same thing.
Yeah.
So Counter-Strike 2, Dota 2, still on the list. Mm-hmm. Although the peak player count much smaller than it was 10 years ago. 10 years ago on this day, it was 850,000 peak player count. This day, 580,000.
Oh, that's probably because the honeymoon period is now over. Like, it was 10 years ago. So, and the fact that the player count hasn't like plummeted to like a quarter of it is still pretty impressive.
Yeah, I think the problem is that game's not getting any new players anymore. It's too old, too deep, too many characters. It's not user friendly to newbies.
But I mean, if you've got 500,000 people still playing your game, you've got to after 10 years, you've got a solid audience.
Oh yeah, you're good. Some game called Banana.
Okay.
It's got 388,000 people playing it right now.
All right. People like their
PUBG.
potassium.
People like their potassium. Yeah. PUBG,
Yeah, expected.
which has more players playing it than Dota 2, which is interesting. Naraka.
I've heard of that, but I don't really know anything about it.
Yeah. Another free-to-play game, I think.
Yeah.
Apex Legends,
Sure.
which it seems to be shrinking. It's at a peak of about 209,000, which is still a lot, but that's much smaller than it used to be.
It's competing against PUBG and Fortnite, so
True. Yeah. I'm surprised Fortnite's not. Oh, Fortnite's not on here because it's got its own. Yeah. Something called Wallpaper Engine.
Oh, that's like that's a utility, I guess, for getting like desktop wallpapers or making them or something.
Very popular, apparently.
Or no, I think hold on. I think it's I'm gonna look it up as I'm talking. I think it's like a thing that manages like giving you a new wallpaper every day or something like that.
That would be cool.
Let's see here. Wallpaper Engine is from Wikipedia. Wallpaper Engine is an application for Windows with a companion app on Android, which allows users to use and create animated and interactive wallpapers similar to the defunct Windows Dream Scene. Wallpapers are shared through the Steam Workshop functionality as user-created downloadable content, features its own rendering engine, and provides a wallpaper editor, allowing for the creation of 2D and 3D wallpapers, including a particle system and a fork of JavaScript called SceneScript for additional wallpaper logic. It also supports using video files, audio files, web pages, and some 3D applications as wallpapers. Okay, so that's what it is. It's effectively a plugin for Windows that runs through Steam. So I mean, I'm not sure if it's even fair to count that because people are just going to be running it in general.
Yeah.
You know, like they're going to have it on in the background because that's how it works.
It's a lot of people. I don't know why you would want to do that. That's just something that takes up resources.
It is. I mean, like I'm looking at this. It looks kind of cool, but yeah, it's a gimmick, and it's not something I'd be all that into. Maybe if it was something that was, and who knows, maybe there's a way to do this, like have it tied into some kind of informational thing. Like, you know how the weather app on your phone, when you open it up, it'll reflect the weather that's currently happening. Like if it's raining, it'll show like raindrops running down the screen or something like that. That I'm like, okay, that's like a gimmick, but it's a gimmick with some informational function. I don't know if this has that, but also you could just look outside, you know?
Yeah.
So, and it's I think it's like a vibe thing. People just want to have something cool going on their desktop, which like I get it. I sometimes when I'm working, I like to go to YouTube and find like ambience videos of, you know, just like, oh, the sound of a rainstorm from inside a car. So it's like
lo-fi beats.
No, I'm not. I'm actually not into the music stuff.
I like the lo-fi beats stuff.
Yeah, I mean they're fine. They're fine. It's just not my thing because like I get drawn into the music and I get distracted by it. I kind of like to have this white noise equivalent. So like having like the sounds of raindrops on glass or something is just like, okay, that's, and it because I find silence really distracting.
Yeah, that's fair.
I like to have some kind of background noise. So I can understand if people want a visual equivalent of that, you know.
Yeah, it's fair. Also on the list today, Call of Duty, of course.
Sure.
Given the fact that there's a new game out, not surprising. Rust.
Oh, people are still doing Rust.
Yeah, 100,000+. Crazy. Yeah. And, of course, Grand Theft Auto 5.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, interesting. Let's see, out of the two lists, Dota 2 survived. And
CSGO technically survived.
Technically Counter-Strike. Yeah, and that's it. Everything else is different.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's not surprising.
No, 10 years is a long time.
Yeah, and the fact is, Counter-Strike, some iteration of Counter-Strike is always going to be there because, first of all, it's Steam, so it's Valve. And also, people have been playing Counter-Strike for fucking ever. Counter-Strike's
Yeah,
been around for
it's
like 25 years almost, I think. Um, and it has never declined in popularity.
no.
It's always like I remember looking at the player numbers for like old school Counter Strike back in the day and seeing it be like at 50,000 and thinking, man, I can't believe there's 50,000 people playing this game all at once. And now it's like, oh, now it's 10 times that much. It's like, yeah, okay,
Yeah,
actually, yeah,
it's huge.
yeah.
Yeah, 100%. All right, that is letter time. Thank you, Sim31.
Yes, that was interesting.
Yeah, little walk down memory lane.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's check in with Metacritic for the latest on new releases. So, last week I think we stopped with Yeast. That's how you say it, right? Yeast.
Yeah.
Ease X. That's right. Did we talk about Redacted last week? I can't remember.
We did because you
We did.
referenced it earlier in the show.
That's no, I think it was just on the November list of games to be released.
Oh, okay.
I don't think it was in the
You know what we
Metacritic
got to
check-in.
do? We got to start. I did another responsibility, but we got to start jotting down summaries of what we talked about.
A log.
Yeah, so that we.
I used to, and then I got lazy because there was so much to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. We'll figure that out.
Yeah.
All right. So Redacted currently sits at about a 78 on Metacritic. So pretty good.
And that's the critic score?
That's the critic score. The user score sits higher at 8.9.
Oh. Okay.
Which is very good. Very, very good. So
yeah.
I like I said, I kind of want to look at that game. It's a money thing, right? Developers, if you want to send me review codes, just saying, I could do it.
Yeah.
The Red Dead Redemption PC port. It's also on Metacritic now as well. It's got a 80 from critics.
Yeah, I mean, game-wise, it's an amazing game. I just don't want to have to install that fucking launcher. I wouldn't even mind if they just wanted a Rockstar account, because I actually do have a Rockstar account. It's the fucking having to install the separate launcher.
Yeah, agreed. And that might be why it's sitting at a 7 by users.
Yeah.
Yeah. Clock Tower Rewind is also now on Metacritic, sitting at a 69.
Nice. But it actually does deserve more than that.
Yeah, let's see what they said. Now I'm curious, because you're the only one that can tell me.
Well, it's one of those things that it's going to be hard for that game to get a fair shake, because it is a game from like 1995 that a lot of people are going to be playing here in North America for the first time. And it's going to feel like a game from 1995, which is not going to jive with the sensibilities of a lot of people today. And also because this wasn't a game that we got here originally, it was exclusive to Japan. There's going to be very few people who have any nostalgia for it, you know?
Yeah. Looking at some of these reviews, it said Clock Tower Rewind faithfully recreates the original title, perhaps too faithfully, but that doesn't mean that it's not a fundamental piece to understand current survival horror.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying this is a game that needs to have like a 98 out of 100, but
they gave it a 70. Just as an aside. Yeah. User rating much lower, 5.4.
Yeah. Well, like I said, that's going to be there's going to be a lot more people who haven't played it than people like me who have played it on an emulator and, can put it into context. I mean, I imagine a lot of the people playing it won't have even been alive during the Super Nintendo days.
No,
and
for
so
sure.
they just might honestly have difficulty appreciating that kind of game, which I understand perfectly, because guess what? I have trouble appreciating Atari 2600 games. And that's from before my time. If I'd grown up with them, I'd probably be like, yeah, okay, but it's still fun. I mean, I'm not saying that I hate all Atari games. Like, I've played some 2600 games that are kind of fun, but like broadly,
Yeah, agreed. Next up is the Castlevania expansion pack for Vampire Survivors.
I've
It's
been
got a
hearing really, really good things about it.
it's got a 94 currently on Metacritic.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Vampire
I've
Survivors
not
is
heard
great.
a single bad thing about it.
Have you played Vampire Survivors?
No, but I kind of feel like I'm going to have to.
I would recommend it. It's not a game that I can get back into once I've played it, though. That's the problem. Like once I've
Oh,
stepped
yeah.
away from it, I've tried to go back to it, and I'm like, yeah, I remember this,
Yeah.
but I don't need to play it again. It's one of those games that sucks you in, and you will continue to play it until you're tired of it, and then
Then
it's
you
hard to go
break
back
free
after
of its
that.
spell.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Also out this week was Empire of the Ants, a game that I was eagerly anticipating. And the reviews are kind of all over the place, quite honestly. It's sitting at a 77 on Metacritic right now from critics, but a 9 from users. So
Yeah.
kind of a little all over the place. The lowest critic review I can find. I'm pretty sure it was IGN who's not on this list yet, which is weird. Come on, Metacritic, you're a little slow on the draw here. Yeah, I think IGN gave it a 5.
Oh.
Yeah, but then there's all these other places that are giving it 7s, 8s, 9s. Yeah, highest is a 9.
Divisive.
It's very divisive for sure. They said that it's a little too easy. I think it's a lot of the thing. They say it's visually stunning, but gameplay wise, it's a little meh. So I don't know. It's divisive for sure. Also out this week, Metal Slug Tactics. Critics at a 78. Pretty good.
Yeah.
User score at a 6.8. I played the opening mission today of that game because it's on Game Pass. I did not know that.
Oh, okay.
So it's on Game Pass. And man, that art style is gorgeous.
Oh, yeah.
And the tactics style is interesting.
Really?
It's very different. So it's like XCOM in that it's like grid based and has like you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But its defense mechanic is what makes it interesting because it kind of encourages you to move constantly because when you move, the further away you go from the spot that you started on a turn, the more dodge points you get.
Oh.
So if you get hit, it takes away from the dodge points first and then takes away from your health.
Oh.
So it encourages you to move constantly.
So you basically get a little bit of a buffer before your health. Okay.
And then if you're behind cover, even if the enemy is on the same side of the cover as you, you still get cover defense points on top of the dodge points.
Okay.
So it's all about like going from cover to cover, keeping moving, but the cover can be destroyed.
Yeah.
So it's this constant game of like, go here. Okay, now when I'm done here, I can go here. So it's that, and then the other cool mechanic that it's got going for it is the sync system, which is if you attack an enemy, if there is one of your allies are in direct line of sight, up, down, left, or right, they will also attack that unit on that turn.
You get like
so you get 2 attacks.
lines of fire.
Yeah. So if you can line up 3 of your dudes on one guy from different directions, they'll all attack on the same thing, but it doesn't take away from the other one's turns.
Okay.
It's like boom, 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 and then they can go anyway, right? And you have a move and you have an action on every turn.
All right.
So you can move and you can fire a gun, or there's also special abilities that you can use. Like the one that I did, I called it an airstrike, which does huge damage.
Sure.
And you gain adrenaline points that you use to cast those special abilities.
Okay.
And I think to do that, you move. So it's all about moving, running gun, kind of style. So it's very interesting. I'm looking forward to playing more.
I guess that's kind of how they've they've translated the gameplay of the side-scrolling games, which are
Yes.
also very much
Run and
about
gun.
movement, because it plays very much like Contra. So
Yeah.
that's interesting.
Mhm.
That sounds kind of cool.
It was only like a 15-minute level, so I I don't have a huge amount of experience with it, but I found it interesting enough to not uninstall.
Yeah, that sounds good.
So yeah, and I love that art style. So we'll see where it goes. Planet Coaster 2 also came out this week. Divisive as well. It's got an 82 from critics, but a 5.2 from users.
Ouch.
I guess there is a lot of it's one of those situations like Cities Skylines where you bring out a sequel and all the extra stuff that they put into the original isn't
there.
Yeah.
So it feels like a lesser version.
Yeah.
That's the same problem that the Sims games had. Is they bring out a new one after doing like 6 expansion packs for the previous game,
or 60 in some cases.
Yeah, and it would feel
they're still like, making Sims 4 expansions.
Yeah, well, apparently they're just going to keep making Sims 4 stuff.
Yeah, they're working on the next Sims, but they're going to have the next Sims be out at the same time as 4, so they're going to support both. Because I guess new one.
I thought they said that they're not doing a Sims 5.
That's what they're not calling the next Sims 5.
Oh, okay.
The next Sims is supposed to be like multiplayer.
Oh, so it's like the Sims Online again.
Yeah, my guess is it's going to be free to play, but we'll see. Yeah, it's EA after all.
Yeah. I'm sure there will be loot boxes and other microtransactions.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm sure. But yeah, Planet Coaster 2. What else we got? As I stated earlier, Mario and Luigi Brothership, or maybe I didn't. Maybe I was before the show. Also very divisive, sitting at a 79 from critics, but an 8.1 or 81 from users.
That's not too divisive. That's basically the same.
IGN gave it a 5, which is very strange. Yeah, I know. I was very... I had mentioned that to Victor Lucas on his stream. I was like, what do you think about IGN giving them a 5? And he just laughed. He's like, who else was shocked that IGN gave it a 5? And everyone was raising their hands.
Like, we should bring up. Victor Lucas apparently gave us a shout out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he gave us a couple of shout outs on his stream with when he was streaming Mario and Luigi Brothership.
Cool.
I had a couple of conversations with him on there.
Thank you.
He recognized me in the chat.
Yeah.
It was fun.
Thank you, Victor. Now, here's the thing. Am I going to seem like a dick if I admit that I never really watched Electric Playground?
No, you are not, because
nothing against him. He seems fine. It's just
he's amazing.
I never went in for the TV shows stuff like Attack of the Show or anything like that, like G4, and it just.
Oh yeah, there's no comparison with Electric Playground. It was so much better.
None of that stuff appealed to me back in the day. I just had zero interest in that.
You should check it out today. He releases a new classic episode of Electric Playground every Saturday.
Yeah.
Remastered. He's working with it's a school in Toronto that are remastering them for him. Sort of like a co-op program.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Cool.
I check his stuff out. I always enjoy it, watching it with my dad, and also watching the reviews is the best part. Just seeing.
Oh yeah, because you get to see what the perspective on stuff was back then. You're like, oh yeah, that's how people felt about that game.
Yeah, and hearing Tommy Tallarico's hilarity is just.
It's funny because we also talked about this when we were looking at magazines, but it's funny to look at reviews where they're oh, this will never stick around, and then it's like, oh, you mean the thing that's still huge?
Yeah, or there's often ones where they're like, it was great, it was fine, it was great, it was good, and then it ends up being like a classic of all time.
Yeah, or they say, oh, I think this is going to be the next big thing in gaming, and then they just never made another one.
Yep. Yeah, last week they brought up a game I had completely forgotten about. Maybe you'll remember it, Draken.
Yes, yeah.
The game where you're riding the dragon around and exploring. Yeah, there's 2 games in that series, I think.
Those are Super Nintendo games, right?
No, it was PC.
PC. Oh yeah, well but there's a Super Nintendo port as well. They're like a
Is there?
mid-90s. It's like a mid-90s game, right?
Um, no, I don't think so. Let me check.
Let me look
Draken
this up.
PC came out on Windows. Doesn't say anything about a Super Nintendo version.
This is Drakhen.
Drakan.
Oh, then I'm looking at a different thing.
Gotcha. Yeah,
Oh,
Drakan.
Draken Order of the
Or
Flame.
the Flame. Yeah, and the second
Okay,
one was
I was
the
thinking of
Agent
a
Gate or something.
I was thinking of a different game that was like
Very
an
similar
RPG.
name.
Yeah, very similar name. That was an RPG on the Amiga originally, and then was on a bunch of different. Because I've played that. I haven't played it very much, and I suck at it because I think it's one of those games where you really need the manual to understand what's going on.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have not played this Drakon game.
Drakan. Yeah, it's fun. I mean, it was at the time anyway.
Oh, I see. Yeah, it's like a. Oh, it sounds like Lair, where you fly around on dragons and.
Yeah.
Well,
Just
now
without crappy motion controls.
Well, here's the question: Did it tank that developer like Lair did?
No, it did not. They were able to make a sequel, so.
Well, I mean, so I see what happened. They got absorbed into Monolith, and Monolith is still around. So
there you go.
Okay. Oh yeah, they made. I see. They made that. They made that Lord of the Rings game, but not based on the movie, based on the book. Remember that?
Oh, the Super Nintendo one?
No. In the God, no, never that one. in the 2000s, when the movies were coming out, and the licensing for the books and for the movies was different.
Oh, so, I don't remember a Lord of the Rings game.
Well, the games based on the movies like way oversold and overtook them in terms of popularity.
Do you know what year this one came out?
2002.
Okay. It was called The Fellowship of the Ring?
Yeah, it's by Surreal Software, the people who did Drakon.
Drakon.
Yeah, I want to make sure I separate them by pronunciation. And it was published by Vivendi.
Rest in peace.
Well, maybe.
Yeah, I don't remember this game at all. Huh. Well, there's probably a reason for that.
Yeah.
All right, a couple more games here. Slitterhead came out this week. This was the game from the creator of Silent Hill. Mm-hmm. Divisive as well, kind of low, sitting at a 62. Reviews range from 85 all the way down to 3 or 30.
3
out of 10. Or,
okay.
Yeah, 8.5 to 3. Yeah, they don't use our scale, so it's kind of like a mental block for me. But it says the one that had a 30 gave it, or said, a deeply flawed attempt to combine survival horror with Devil May Cry style action that tries to do a dozen things at once and succeeds at none of them. A mid-review here says, Slitterhead is a big waste. Many of the concepts behind the game are brilliant and demonstrate how Toyama is still a creative capable of experimenting and creating extraordinary titles, but it is clear that deprived of the resources of the past and forced to start over with a new team, he was not able to adequately give shape to his initial vision. Yeah, never really enticed me, so not super surprising. And finally, we have Metro Awakening, which is the VR game for PlayStation VR 2, sitting at a 78. Reviews ranging from 90 to 60.
That's quite a width. I'm assuming that probably factors in how much the reviewer enjoys VR in general.
Yeah, I would assume
because
so.
that's kind of inseparable from a VR game. Like if you just don't like VR, then you're not going to have a huge, you know, you're
Yeah,
not going to have a very high opinion of a game.
yeah. One of the ones that gave it a 70 references physical nausea from playing it. It's like, well,
Yeah.
it's VR, guys. So if your stomach doesn't like VR, you probably shouldn't play VR games. Definitely shouldn't review them. Because I mean, the top level gave
I
it a
don't know,
90.
because like I don't I wouldn't want reviews for games to only come from people who really like those games,
Maybe
because
not just the ones that really like them, but at least ones that don't get seasick from it. You
yeah,
know what I mean? It's like that
there
shouldn't
was
count.
there was a magazine, and I'm trying to remember which magazine it was, but they would have on their reviews, they would have a second opinion, which was
Mm,
a shorter review
I remember
at
that.
the
Yeah,
end of the main one, where another person on the writing team would give their take on the game, and I wish that was more of a standard thing, because I and
hundred
again,
percent.
it doesn't need to be a full review from another person. It just needs to be like, hey, this is what one other person on our team thought, and they're like, okay, yeah, this is really good, or it didn't, didn't do the same for me, or I don't know what the writer of this main review is talking about. This game sucks and they're insane, or this game's awesome and they're stupid for hating it, or
What what
whatever. Just
what media outlet was this again?
I don't remember. I think it might have been Game Players. Do you want me to go grab it off my shelf
No,
and
that's okay.
check?
I swear I remember IGN used to do it, but I could be wrong.
I mean, IGN might have done it as well.
Yeah, no one does it anymore though. That's definitely true.
Yeah,
at least not
this
that I'm
was
aware of.
definitely in a magazine though that I'm thinking of.
Yeah, yeah. No, I remember visually seeing that for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's the Metacritic check-in, which means it's time for gaming news. And
Yes.
there is a lot to talk about, ladies and gentlemen. So let's dive straight in. First off, PlayStation 5 Pro is out in the wild. It is out there, ladies and gentlemen. It has been birthed.
I'm shocked at the number of people I've seen excitedly posting about how they want one. I was like, really?
I mean, to be fair, I want one as well, but
sure.
I'm not going to buy one.
But I'm talking specifically about people who want one and intend to get one, is what I mean.
Well,
who
here's the thing.
intend to pay the price.
These people that say that they want one and they're going to get one, did they get one? Because they're not sold out yet.
Well, I'm seeing a lot of people posting pictures with theirs.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, if they got one, sure. Yeah.
And I'm just like, really? Okay.
Here's the thing. From what I've seen, because I've looked at a lot of videos and comparison videos and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely like the PlayStation 4 Pro, in which it's definitely a game by game basis on how much you're going to get out of the purchase. So you have to keep that in mind. The other thing is that, would I purchase this if I didn't already have a PS5? Probably. Like if I had the choice, if I didn't have a PlayStation 5 and I had the choice between getting the base PS5 or the PS5 Pro, would I get the PS5 Pro? I would get the PS5 Pro.
Could you even afford the PS5 Pro?
I couldn't right now, no. But if I could, if I had the choice,
if you could, of course, it's not about this.
So I'm not saying like if I had like an abundance of money. Obviously, you would get the best of everything if you had an abundance of money. But if I did have the choice between the two, would I spend the extra money to get it? And the answer is yes, because if I didn't have the PS5 already, that means I have the whole back catalog of games to play, which is a lot of games. Mm-hmm. And not everyone, in fact, many people, 65 million people who have already bought a PS5, are not going to have the ability or really the drive to go back and play all those games on the PS5 Pro. They might pop them in just to be like, oh, that looks really cool, but they're not going to play it for the whole game, and they're not going to get that level of experience. Whereas if I was just coming into that ecosystem, I'd be like, oh yeah, I want the best for all that shit. There's so much to catch up on. I want 4K ray tracing, 60 frames per second. Fuck yeah. Let's do this.
But here's counterpoint. You can get a not as good but still pretty good experience for like 2/3 of the price. Like, think of all the games you could buy with the money that you're not spending on the PS5 Pro. That's my thing, is that it's like $1,000 US.
Yeah, it's 9.59 Canadian, 9.59 Canadian, which is a lot. I'm not saying it's
Well,
not a lot. It's a fuck
when you
ton.
factor in the cost of the disc drive, if you want to play disc
Oh,
based games,
I wouldn't.
it's it's it's
Yeah,
insane. And
yeah.
then the cost of the stand and
Which
the
is,
fucking it gets really really high up there.
it
It's
it
insane.
it comes with a horizontal stand though, so it's not something I would necessarily need a vertical stand. I'm
Yeah.
not defending them. I do think it's overpriced, and I think they did that on purpose because they're probably not selling this at a loss like they do with the base consoles. They're probably selling this at a small profit because they know it's not going to sell, you know, 30 million copies. They're probably going to sell maybe 5 million at the most.
Yeah.
But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But this article tells us that the full list of PlayStation 5 Pro enhanced games available is now out. I'm not going to read the whole list because 50 games is a lot. But some of the notable games with PS5 Pro enhancements include Alan Wake 2, Apex Legends, Assassin's Creed Mirage, Baldur's Gate 3, Black Ops 6, which just came out, Dead Island 2, the Demon's Souls remake. I don't know how you can make that game look better. That game was already fucking insanely gorgeous.
Maybe you push out the draw distance or something.
Maybe that might be the most beautiful game I've ever played. Between that and Uncharted 4, man, I don't know. Diablo 4, Dragon Age: The Veilguard just came out. Dragon's Dogma 2, which I think is probably one of the bigger changes, because that game apparently runs like dog shit. No pun intended. Dogma shit. So hopefully the PS5 Pro will enhance that. Dying Light 2, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which apparently is also a game that doesn't run all that well on the base PS5.
Yeah, I keep hearing that the upgrades, like visual upgrades on that one, are phenomenal.
Yeah, the visual upgrades and the frame rate are apparently really, really impressive on that one. Fortnite, okay. God of War Ragnarok, Hogwarts Legacy, Horizon 1 and 2, all the Spider-Man and Insomniac
Now, what about
games.
Horizon Remastered?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Horizon. So Horizon Remastered is technically not a separate product on PlayStation.
Oh, okay.
It's like a paid patch, basically.
Okay.
From what I can tell, you can't buy the original anymore. You basically have to buy the remaster. At least for PS5. I don't know if the remaster is for PS4. I assume not. Yeah, all the Insomniac Spider-Man games. No Man's Sky, which would probably be pretty good for draw distance for that game. Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, Resident Evil 4 Remake, Resident Evil 8, Rise of the Ronin, Star Wars Jedi Outlaws, and Jedi Survivor.
You were going to say Jedi Outcast, weren't you? Which is the Kyle Katarn one.
So those two games are right next to each other. I may have said Jedi Outlaws. To be honest with you, I don't know if I said Jedi Outlaws or Jedi Survivor. But Jedi Survivor and Star Wars Outlaws are both on the list. Callisto Protocol is strangely on the list. So it's good to know they just didn't abandon that game. They do want people to play it, and you should play it, as it's good. Last of Us Part 1 and Part 2, Until Dawn, and Warframe. So yeah, but there's a lot of other games on that list. But those I would say are the major ones. I wish I could tell you that I can review the Pro, but it's just never going to happen unless they send me a review copy of the PS5 Pro, which seems highly unlikely. All right, next up, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe continues to sell millions. So
it's apparently their best-selling game of all time. It sold like 64 million copies.
Yeah, it's high up there for sure. The question is, will Nintendo release Mario Kart 9 for Switch 2, or will it just continue to add to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe? Because it has since been confirmed that Nintendo Switch 2, or whatever that ends up being, does in fact support backwards compatibility with the Switch and crossover purchases from Nintendo Online.
Which so is the one thing that we're like, they have to do.
Yeah, we were all afraid that they were going to fuck that up, and they didn't. So
yeah,
good to know. In its latest financial report, Nintendo said Mario Kart 8 Deluxe sold another 2.3 million units from April to September, which is fucking insane.
Yeah.
Which means Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is now up to an incredible, as you said, 64.27 million copies sold. In fact, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe sold almost as many copies as Zelda Echoes of Wisdom this year, and more than either Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door or Luigi's Mansion 2 HD. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is comfortably the best-selling Nintendo Switch game, ahead of Animal Crossing New Horizons, which sits at 46 million copies sold.
Jesus Christ, I didn't know it sold that many.
Yeah, I mean it was dubbed the pandemic game.
Right.
Everyone was playing it during the pandemic. And its enduring popularity is easy to understand. Not only is Mario Kart 8 Deluxe superb in its own right, but it's also
Keep going, you'll get it. I believe in you. You can do this.
Holy shit. But it's an almost essential buy for any new Switch owner looking for a fun game to play with family and friends pretty much out of the box. Why is there new Switch owners? It's been out for 10 years, guys. Why are you just buying a Switch now?
10 years. It's been out for 7 years.
Is it?
Yeah, 2017.
Feels like 10 years.
It feels like 10 years, but it hasn't been 10 years.
It's crazy. Speaking of which, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe looks set to continue to sell well, with Nintendo pushing the Switch ahead of the crucial holiday sales period. The question now is, will Nintendo release a sequel or continue Mario Kart 8's shit? God. Oh, it's happening too early in the show for this. Or continue Mario Kart 8 Deluxe's dominance via backwards compatibility and a beefy next-gen update? That's a good question.
I think they'll probably milk it for as long as they can, but I don't think they'll just keep doing it forever. I think there will probably be a Mario Kart 9, because eventually all the people who want Mario Kart 8 will have purchased it. And then what do they buy next? Well, you give them a new Mario Kart game.
I think, given that there wasn't a new Mario Kart game for Switch, that there's guaranteed to be one for Switch 2.
Well, that's because there was a perfectly good one on the Wii U. It's a system that only like 13 million people bought.
Yeah. I think that, given how many people bought 8, that, they're all probably clamoring for the next game at this point.
Mm-hmm.
But clearly there's still people buying it, though. It's just, those numbers are bonkers. Just bonkers.
Yeah, Mario Kart is one of those games that gets like one entry per Nintendo system, basically. Like, you've got one on the Super Nintendo, you got one on the N64, you got one on the GameCube, you got one on the GBA, you got one on the DS, you got one on the Wii.
I think was there a 3DS one?
That was Mario Kart 7, wasn't it?
Yep, it was. Wow.
When they just said fucking and started numbering them.
Yeah.
Like Mario Kart 64 notwithstanding, of course.
It's the future.
Yeah. I played the shit out of Mario Kart DS. I played that game a lot.
Yep, me too. I think the one I played the most is probably the Wii, though.
I'm really bad at that one.
Yeah, it's the most different, I would say. The one I played the least is Double Dash. I think I've played it like once.
I also played a bunch of Double Dash. I didn't own it, but I did play it a bunch.
I have it. I think I've played it once and then I just didn't care. All right, more Nintendo news. As the world waits for Nintendo to announce Switch 2, sales of the Switch continue to plummet. Nintendo has slashed its forecast for Switch sales this year amid growing anticipation for the announcement of the Switch 2. today, November 5th, Nintendo cut its Switch sales projection for the financial year ending March 2025 from 13.5 million units to 12.5 million units, with the console now.
That's not much of a slash, but
well, a million units. It's a lot of money.
That's more of a clipping your fingernails.
Oh yeah, I mean the fact that they're still selling that many this year, this many years in, is crazy.
The idea that you would sell 12 million more of those things is kind of, at this point, kind of nuts.
It's on its 8th year on sale.
And I figure the sales will probably continue to decline until and unless they announce like a massive price cut just to get rid of old inventory. And then you'll probably have it go up again and then taper off.
Yeah.
But it's sitting at like 146 million units, isn't it? Something like that.
Well, we'll continue on this long article here. The most important part that I want to talk about is Nintendo has said it will announce the Switch successor at some point during the current financial year, which means we can expect to hear more before April. So this goes against what I said on a previous episode, which is, now by a previous episode, I mean like before you even joined the show, because I changed my guess once we didn't hear anything about Switch 2 in October like I thought we were going to.
Yeah.
With this announcement, I think this is basically a guarantee that we're going to get the console in fall 2025.
Yeah.
Instead of a spring release. Which is shocking. I'm not sure why. Not sure why they're waiting to pull the trigger. You know, they seem to have a lot of success releasing it in the spring, but it looks like they're skipping it this time.
Well, I kind of think that, they just put out Echoes of Wisdom. They probably don't want to eat into sales of that game, because if they announce Switch 2, then people are going to say, well, there's no point in buying a Switch. And I mean, we know that there's backwards compatibility now, so that maybe, people will still buy Switch games, but they might opt to save their money for, when it comes out in the spring. But if it's not coming out in the spring, might as well spend that money now on Zelda and other big games, and then by the time it does come out, you'll have that money again.
I'm just going to wait. I've heard it doesn't run super well on the Switch.
No, it's fine.
On dock mode, apparently. Did you play it in handheld?
Yeah, I just played it in handheld mode.
Yeah, apparently in docked mode, there's a lot of like stuttering and issues like that. Similar to Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. So I'll probably play it on the next gen system, assuming that they take advantage of the hardware on the backwards compatibility side. I don't know.
I don't believe they say that games like Switch 1 games will be enhanced in any way.
No, I would assume they would wait until they announce the console to talk about that kind of stuff, though, as a selling point. Let's see. It's worth noting that last year was a big one for Nintendo with the release of Super Mario Bros. Movie and The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom breaking records. This year, however, has been notably lighter for the company. Nintendo sold 4.72 million Switch units in the 6 months ending September 30th, down from 6.84 million units sold during the same period last year. It's a 31% drop. Software unit sales were down nearly 28% year on year to 70 million. So, I mean, this goes on and on, but basically, they got to pull the trigger soon.
Yeah, but I mean, like they're in such a good position. They're
in no trouble. Yeah,
they can do it at their leisure. They're not like under massive pressure to get the new thing out.
I know that there was a lot of rumor about them taking their time to stock up on Switch 2 so that they don't have a scalper situation like they did last time. Where
I mean, there'll be a scalper situation regardless of how many you make in advance. It's just how bad is it going to be?
Maybe it depends. Apparently, I didn't include that news article in today's show, but apparently there's a lot of scalpers sitting with PS5 Pros.
Yeah.
and they're selling them at a loss because nobody wants to pay their ridiculous price.
There hasn't been the rush for them.
Yeah. It's so funny. Serves you right, motherfuckers.
Yep.
Pieces of shit. All right, let's move on. Star Wars Outlaws' new creative director promises big changes after disappointing sales. This is a weird one. So Ubisoft,
they have a new creative director after the games come out. That's fucking weird.
Yeah, Ubisoft has released its first developer update for Star Wars Outlaws with new creative director Drew Rechner, I'm going to say, promising big changes after the open world adventure debuted to disappointing sales. Rechner said in the update that Ubisoft has been gathering and actioning players' feedback since launch and has identified key areas where it can elevate the game experience to better meet player expectations. Whoops. Sentiments such as these are often seen in the wake of disastrous game launches, but Star Wars Outlaws debuted to positive reviews. Poor sales shook a struggling Ubisoft, however, and it is now working to improve the game ahead of what it hopes will be a sales bump alongside its Steam launch and the holiday period.
I think you might need to reposition your mic because you're sounding a little quiet after you bumped it.
How am I now?
That's better. That's much better.
Oi. This will result in Star Wars Outlaws getting revamped combat, stealth, and controls. The first key area of improvement to the game is combat, where we see a real opportunity to add more depth and excitement to the experience, further rewarding your tactics and precision. Our second key area is stealth, which is not only about improving the readability and consistency of enemy detection, but also providing choice in how you want to approach each encounter. And finally, our third key area focus is centered around the character controls, which means improving the reliability of cover, increasing the responsiveness of climbing and crouching, and generally improving the consistency of the controls overall. These changes will be made when Update 1.4 arrives on November 21st, the same day Star Wars Outlaws launches on Steam. Players can expect more information on the changes in the coming weeks. So they're doing a shitload of fuck to this game.
Yeah.
Which really makes me want to replay it now. I was already planning on doing so, but now I'm definitely going to wait perhaps longer to see if they do anything more.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I have like the base, full experience, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'll be able to tell significant differences if I wait and play it when they're finished. The game.
When they're finished the game they've already released.
Yeah, which is weird because, again, I don't think it was bad. I do think it was, like I said, a jack of all trades, master of none. But it wasn't a bad game. But maybe this is going to make it a great game.
Well, we'll see. If it fixes things, then great.
Yeah, nothing was broken. It was just.
Yeah. Well, I guess I should say if this improves things, that's great.
Yeah. I meant to do some more research on this, but I forgot apparently. Shit. Well, we might have to do some unprompted or prompted, I guess, research on this. Private Division has been sold to an unknown buyer in the wake of Take-Two shuttering 2 of its studios. Take-Two has sold indie publisher Private Division to an unknown buyer in the wake of shuttering Roll 7 and Intercept games, saying that it wants to focus on its core and mobile businesses going forward. While virtually all of Private Division's live and unreleased games will go to the new buyer, Take-Two says it will continue to support No Rest for the Wicked, the recently released action RPG from Moon Studios that's currently in early access. So this stood out to me because I'm pretty sure that Private Division publishes a lot of big games. I'm pretty sure that they published Outer Worlds. So I'm going to do a quick little bit of research here. Private Division game publisher.
Wait, the Outer Worlds, like the Oblivion game?
Yeah, I think so.
Well, that would be a Microsoft thing, because Oblivion is owned by Microsoft.
Yeah, but Outer Worlds came out before they were bought out by Microsoft.
Did it?
Pretty sure.
Oh, God. It's all blended together for me.
Here we go. Private Division is an American video game publisher based in New York City. Games developed and published. Okay, let's see. Yeah, they did Outer Worlds.
Okay.
They also did Ancestors, that monkey game. Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
They did Kerbal Space Program. Disintegration. Oh, they published Hades.
Oh.
Rollerdrome, Ollie Ollie World. And recently No Rest for the Wicked, and their next game is that Lord of the Rings Shire game.
Oh, yeah.
And Eternal Strands as well is coming out from them as well. Although now it's going to be self-published because of what happened, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's a big drop. Like, I don't know why they would drop these guys, and who bought them?
Yeah, the fact that they're not sent, that's weird.
That's really weird. Yeah, and unless it's just a private, business financial
It
owner who has nothing to do with gaming.
it seems weird that you would be able to buy a company and do so anonymously.
It is a little weird, isn't it?
Like that that seems like something that's ripe for money laundering and crime. Oh, here comes the cat. Obligatory cat segment,
Yeah, he's whining for apparently no reason. Say hi.
as cats do.
What are you looking at? Oh, okay. You're just staring off into space. He's got his feet on my keyboard.
The perpetually uninterested cat who is also really interested in getting your attention.
Yeah, he is. All right. You've had your fun. You go. Dante. He's a special cat. All right. Moving forward. You mentioned this before the show. Death Stranding surprise launches on Xbox Series as Kojima Productions takes control of the IP. Death Stranding is now officially on Xbox after Kojima Productions surprise announced the game's release on Xbox Series X and S. His first post-Metal Gear game first launched as a PS4 exclusive published by Sony Interactive Entertainment back in 2019 before being released on PC a year later. Today, the director's cut is now on Xbox Series X and S and Windows PC, courtesy of publisher 505 Games, and alongside a 50% launch discount.
Yeah, that's. I mean, I guess they figure we probably can't sell this for full price after it's been out for this long, but.
Yeah, tell that to the Nintendo.
Yeah. Yeah.
Assholes. Drop your prices. The timing of the launch, which comes exactly 5 years after the PS4 exclusive release, suggests Sony's console exclusivity deal with Death Stranding has now expired. Quote, Kojima Productions will continue its focus on bringing their award-winning IP, Death Stranding, to more platforms and audiences. A note to the press reads. Meanwhile, Kojima Productions announced that it is now full ownership of the Death Stranding intellectual property. Yeah, I was under the impression that Death Stranding was actually owned by Sony, but apparently not.
He probably wants to avoid that after the Konami situation.
Yeah, so that's interesting. It's a busy time for Kojima and for Death Stranding. Its sequel, Death Stranding 2 On the Beach, is due out as a Sony-published PS5 exclusive in 2025. And a movie based on the first game is also in the works.
How the fuck are they going to do that? Because that ending, like you said, was like 2 hours long. How the fuck are they going to fit everything into there?
Your guess
it's
is
the world's
as good as
first
mine.
Movie that runs at 4 times playback speed by default.
Or it's going to be, split into 12 movies.
Oh, God.
Four trilogies. Death Stranding. Yeah. Elsewhere, Kojima is working on OD for Xbox Game Studios and Physant for Sony Interactive Entertainment. So, yeah.
Yeah, we talked about those before.
Congrats to Xbox owners, all 10 million of you. I'm sure there's more than that. But we actually don't know because Xbox doesn't talk about their sales.
Yeah.
They're losing, so they don't really want to. Poor Xbox. All right, next up. Sony just patented a PlayStation controller with a dedicated rewind button. Say what? Sony seems to be experimenting with the idea of a PlayStation controller that has a dedicated rewind button, according to a recently published patent. The patent spotted by Tech4Gamers is for a gameplay rewind technology that would activate when the user pressed a universal button on a controller during live gameplay. The button would activate a mode where the user sees a series of image frames of live gameplay that they can scroll through. Selecting one will allow the player to review their gameplay from that point. Per the patent images, the button could be located where the share button on the controller is now. Another image shows an on-screen interface buttons similar to those on a TV remote, with images indicating play, pause, next, previous, fast forward, and rewind. There's also a return button. The patent description suggests this feature would be useful in a number of ways, such as reminding a player of important quest information they might have missed, or how to reach a location they've been to before that they cannot recall how to access. It also details that the player might bookmark certain sections of gameplay they may want to revisit later, with the rewind button allowing them to quickly revisit these saved moments. Interesting.
So it's just save states?
No, it's like literally like a movie. Like it's like rewinding to go back and look.
Yeah,
it's not save states. It's to go back and look.
Oh, you can't jump back into gameplay. Oh.
No, it's to go back and look at things.
Okay, so it's just reviewing. It's just you've put media playback on your game controller to facilitate fast reviewing of your recorded footage. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, these companies patent things all the time, and they never come to fruition. So,
yeah,
interesting feature though. There was what game was I playing recently? Oh, Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown. Mm-hmm. It had a way better way of doing this that honestly should just be in every video game. It was Lost Crown's a Metroidvania,
mm-hmm.
and one of the pet peeves of that particular genre is, you get a new ability and you're like, oh shit, I can access all those things I missed before. I couldn't get up to that ledge. Now I got a higher jump. Wait a minute, where was that? Fuck. Where was that? That's always been a problem. And in Lost Crown, you can literally take an image of where you are and it puts it on the map.
Oh, so you're pinning snapshots to the map of hey, remember this.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
It's going to be important.
Yep. So you can go to your map and there's like a little icon that says you took a picture of that area on the map. You click it and it brings up a screenshot from when you took it, and you're like, oh yeah, this was a thing where I needed the high jump. Okay, so I can go back there. I think that feature is so clever.
Yeah, it sounds helpful.
Oh, it's great. That's a great game, man.
It sounds like the kind of people you should have kept around.
Well, they didn't fire them; they just redistributed them.
Yeah, well, maybe if it's that group of people that came together to come up with things, you should have kept them together.
Agreed. 100% agreed. All right. Warner Brothers.
Fucking Ubisoft, man.
Yeah, they're falling apart. Buy Ubisoft stock. Warner Brothers admits multiverses underperformed, contributing to another $100 million hit to revenue in its game business portfolio.
Holy shit. That's a little bit more than underperforming, guys.
Yeah. Free-to-play Smash Brothers style multiverses has significantly underperformed, publisher Warner Brothers Discovery has admitted, contributing to a further $100 million write-down for the company's games business in 2024. Warner Brothers Games acquired Multiverse's developer Player First Games in July, just 2 months after the game relaunched on PS4, PS5, PC, Xbox One, and Xbox Series, following early access and open beta releases throughout 2022 and 2023. Our team is our team is excited to join the Warner Brothers Games family, and we feel that this will be great for multiverses overall. The game director, I believe, said at the time, we are working to make the multiverses game experience the best it can be, and having our development team integrated with the publisher is optimum for the players, end quote. However, speaking in a recent financial call, Warner Brothers Discovery president and CEO David Zaslav, I'm assuming?
Yeah.
And chief financial officer Gunnar Wiedenfels, I think is how you say it, said Multiverse's failure has added another $100 million to the $200 million write-down the company's game business has already suffered earlier this year. Warner Brothers Games' only new game released during the third quarter of 2024 was Quidditch Champions, the Harry Potter game, which failed to make an impression. We recognize the game's business is substantially underperforming its potential right now. We took another $100 million plus impairment due to the underperforming releases. primarily Multiverses this quarter, bringing total right down to this year to over $300 million in our games business, a key factor in this year's studio profit decline. According to Steam database, at the time of this article's publication, Multiverses has had just 686 concurrent players, with a
Ooh.
24-hour peak of 1,741 concurrent players. It's
Oh,
all-time.
those are Concord numbers.
I was going to say those are Concord numbers. Bingo card.
Yeah, check it off.
Multiverse's all-time peak of 153,000 was set over 2 years ago before the game was pulled offline and overhauled. Microsoft and Sony do not make player numbers public. So, in other words, we don't know what that game did on Xbox and PlayStation. What this all means for Multiverses remains to be seen, but earlier this year, Warner Brothers admitted the failure of Rocksteady's Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League, contributed to a $200 million hit to revenue. Post-launch plans were reportedly scaled back and layoffs were reported. However, Season 4 launches on November 12th and ends January 21st, 2025. Warner Brothers Games revenue declined 31% during the most recent financial quarter, July to September, primarily driven by the better performance of the prior year's slate, mainly Mortal Kombat 1 compared to the current year's slate, Warner Brothers said. Looking to the current quarter, Warner Brothers expects games to be flat to moderately better year-on-year, as last year's launch of Hogwarts Legacy on Switch in November will be offset by lower costs. During the same financial call, Warner Brothers said it's now doubling down on 4 games. And this is where it gets weird, because they name the games, but they're not all games.
Okay.
Hogwarts Legacy. Okay, we know that. The sequel's already in the works. They've already confirmed that. Mortal Kombat. Not a game. A game series, but it's not a game. Game of Thrones. Definitely not a game.
Yeah, and they're... What? Are they making another Game of Thrones game?
And DC, in particular Batman.
That's a brand.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Warner Brothers recently published VR game Batman Arkham Shadow exclusively on MetaQuest 3, and they also have a Wonder Woman game in the works at Monolith Productions. We are focusing on our development efforts on those core franchises with proven studios to improve our success ratio. Then you should have said franchises and not games.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure anyone could tell you, duh.
Yeah, this is... I guess they'll just fucking cancel a bunch of other movies and use those as write-offs to try and offset this or some shit.
Probably. Yeah, definitely make Hogwarts Legacy 2. For sure. Definitely make another Mortal Kombat, because Mortal Kombat continues to be great.
Weird that the Quidditch game isn't doing well.
I played it. It's...
Oh, is it just bad?
It's not bad. It's just the idea of Quidditch in a video game sounds cool.
Oh, but it doesn't execute very well.
It doesn't translate very well. They made a few concessions and changes to it to make it more gamified, but it's still basically you're just flying around and looking at a dot in the distance trying to get the thing, and then occasionally there's a player that just runs you over and takes the... it's not...
Okay.
Yeah, it's more exciting in a cinematic view than it is just, 90% of the time you're just flying. You're not doing anything. So, all right. More from Warner Brothers. Actually, no, I think I went into this one already. Yeah, I already went into this. We can skip that one. All right. Happy N7 Day. For those of you who don't know, that's November 7th, Mass Effect Day. And they always announce something on Mass Effect Day. And this time, it's a TV show. A Mass Effect TV show is now officially in development at Amazon. And that's all I got.
Yeah.
It's pretty clear, though, that now that Dragon Age Veilguard is out and they have confirmed that there's no DLC coming for it, that team is full-on Mass Effect mode at this point. They've got the Mass Effect TV show. they've got the Mass Effect game coming out, and given the amount of teases that have come over the past 4 years for Mass Effect, it's like, where is this game, man?
Yeah, what do we know about that upcoming game? Is it going to be Mass Effect 4? It's not
We
going
don't
to be
know.
it's not
We
going to
don't
be
know.
Andromeda 2, that's for sure.
No, it's definitely not going to be Andromeda 2. So in the first trailer,
Mass Effect, please forget that we made Andromeda.
Yeah, exactly. The first tease showed Liara from the first game.
So it's not set hundreds of years later like Andromeda is.
Potentially, maybe, because Liara is a species that lives for a long time.
Oh, okay.
So we don't really know. In the second tease, it was just a picture of what looked like Liara and 2 other people on like a cratered moon, and they said that there was like secrets in the image, which nobody really was able to figure out much from it, from what I remember. And then
maybe if you look at it at the right angle, you'll see Cha engraved into the moon. I'd really respect a Tick reference in 2024.
Cha.
Yeah.
And the third teaser was somebody in N7 armor, which is the armor that Shepard wears in the Mass Effect games. But they had a helmet on.
I'm gonna ask a question. What does N7 mean?
No idea.
It's just a thing.
It's the armor that she wears. Or I say she because that's who I played as in Mass Effect. But N7. What does N7 stand for in Mass Effect? Let's see. The N designates special forces, and the 7 refers to the highest level of proficiency. So it's a vocational code in the military.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was like, is that like UNSC in Halo? Is it like the military division or something? Okay, it's like a rank.
It's a rank. Yeah.
You're a high ranking special forces soldier. Yep. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah. Interested in the TV show. We'll see how it goes. I don't know how you translate it specifically into a TV show, since the game was all about choice. In a TV show, you don't have that.
Set in that continuity without being based on the game, like the Fallout TV show is.
I hope it's based on the series, but they just pick a canon. That would be my hope. Because this story in the series is like, it's phenomenal.
Yeah, but I mean, it's such a heavily personalized thing, like everybody's playthrough.
It's true.
I don't know if you want to mess with that too much.
Yeah, it says we don't know too much about the series other than those names involved. Who are the names involved? Daniel Casey, the writer of 10 Cloverfield Lane, is set to write and executive produce the series. 10 Cloverfield Lane is a great movie. Have you seen it?
No.
Highly recommend it. It is not what you think it is.
Is that the one with John Goodman in the shelter? Okay.
Yeah. Don't look at spoilers. Just see it. It's good. And don't worry about it being connected to the Cloverfield movies. Like, it's all 3 of those movies have like almost nothing to do with each other. I understand that
the connection is more thematic than direct.
Yeah. I really hope they make more Cloverfield movies because they're really good. I know the third one didn't hit for a lot of people, but I enjoyed it. Let's see. Other producers include EA BioWare's Michael Gamble, who's leading development on the next Mass Effect game, and Avi Arad, who's also working on the upcoming Zelda movie.
Oh yeah, he's like a producer at Marvel.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
Wonder why it doesn't say that on here. You would think referencing that instead of him working on the Zelda movie would be more appropriate.
Who knows?
Or both. Also, Kareem Zarek and Cedar Tree Productions are producing as well under an overall deal with Amazon MGM Studios. At the moment, the only plot detail Amazon is letting slip is the fact that it's based on the best-selling sci-fi video game franchise from EA.
Oh, so Jesus, I wonder, with a name like Mass Effect? No, it's just coincidence, guys.
So it's still unknown if it'll be a straightforward adaptation or another story set in the world of the games. Um, mm, 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 mm. Yeah, so we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see how that turns out. Before we get into the final one, I always talk about the Game Pass and PlayStation Plus lineups when we get updates. Well, we got the Wave 1 update for Game Pass. So coming to Game Pass in November. Already out as of this recording is Metal Slug Tactics. Talked about that earlier on Game Pass Ultimate and PC. StarCraft Remastered and StarCraft 2 Campaign Collection are also now available on Game Pass Ultimate and PC. Go Mecha Ball is now available on Game Pass Standard. Harold Halibut, also now available on Game Pass Standard. And The Rewinder, also available on Game Pass Standard. Turnip Boy Robs a Bank.
I want to play it based on the name alone.
I think I've played... There's 2 games in that series. I think I played the first one, which I think was also had a funny name. I think it was Turnip Boy commits tax evasion.
That was even better.
I played that one. It's a game that's just fun. Like, it's just funny. It's just a lot of humor.
The immediate image in my mind is like, it's that scene from Heat where like Robert De Niro and all of them are robbing the bank.
Oh,
and
yeah.
It's like, we're not here for your money. We're here for the government's money. Or we're here for the bank's money. The government insures your money for up to $100,000. Except it's a fucking turnip. Yeah. It's just like a sentient turnip.
A sentient turnip.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the first one was like a top-down Zelda-like, but with really no combat. It was like puzzles and like talking to people and like no combat that I can remember.
Hard to have combat in a game about tax evasion.
Yeah.
Unless you're literally being like chased by taxes.
Yeah.
like you have to fight, like it's a beat 'em up, like you have to fight the IRS.
Giant taxes chasing a turnip.
Yeah.
No. And then I think Turnip Robs the Bank is like a twin stick shooter, I think.
Sure.
Also available is Goat Simulator Remastered for Game Pass Ultimate and PC.
Now okay. So you know how in Payday they put on masks, right? Like, does Turnip Boy put on a mask that like is like a different piece of produce? Like, does he wear a potato mask? Yeah,
that's a good question. I don't know. Never played the Rob's Bank one. I should play it for next week.
Yeah, it's on Game Pass. You should give it a shot.
Harold Halibut is interesting. You might want to check that one out. It's kind of like what would happen if Disco Elysium was a Wallace and Gromit type aesthetic. It's really weird. That's really weird.
Best pitch I've ever heard for anything.
Yeah, check that one out. It was funny.
Yeah, I'll take a look at that.
It's an adventure game, same as like any other, but it's got a cool aesthetic. Oh, maybe not Wallace and Gromit. It's like, I think like every like visual, like every level is basically like a diorama.
Oh, okay.
Is the style of it, if I remember correctly. I played it a while ago. It's been on Game Pass Ultimate for a while. Now coming to Game Pass Standard. And then finally on November 19th, Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 comes to Game Pass Ultimate and PC. Not a great lineup, honestly. Nothing that excites me except for...
What are you talking about? It's got Turnip Boy Robs a Bank.
Yeah, but it's already on Game Pass Ultimate. That's what someone was saying. I was talking about that to somebody in the comments. They were like, I was like, man, the wave of lineups are getting kind of weak. Like I used to get 5 games a week on Game Pass, and now it's down to like 2, maybe.
Oh, cry me a river. You're paying a subscription fee.
I know, but it's not as good as it used to be. It just isn't. The reason that I paid for it was because they put a lot of little games on there, so I was playing a lot of games where I'm like, oh, I've never heard of this. Yeah. I'll play it, and I was discovering lots of cool little games that way. They're not really doing that now. So
Netflix is good for that, for movies. Like I saw some like Chinese horror movie that I'd never heard of before. And the entire thing was in Chinese, and I mean it had subtitles, of course. Subtitles, I was like, oh, yeah. This is cool.
Yeah.
I never ever would have heard of this.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm gonna obviously play Metal Slug Tactics. It's pretty fun, and I'll dick around with Flight Simulator 2024. But otherwise, nothing on that list is like screaming at me, and most of it's been on Game Pass Ultimate for a while, so it's a little disappointing. However, games leaving Game Pass on November 15th, which is about a week away from today. Dicey Dungeons. Dungeons 4. Man, they're up to 4 Dungeons games? Good lord.
I'm pretty sure there are more than just 4 dungeons. I've been in so many dungeons, man.
Have you played any of the Dungeons games?
No.
No. They're the...
Is it really just called Dungeons 4?
Yeah, there's 4 of those games at this point.
How the fuck do you get a trademark for a game that's just called Dungeons?
Maybe it's not trademarked. You don't need a trademark, technically. You just
technically, I guess.
But they're the Dungeon Keeper spiritual successors.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. The original Goat Simulator on PC is leaving since the remaster's out. Makes sense. Like a Dragon Ishin is leaving Game Pass. Like a Dragon, the man who erased his name is leaving Game Pass.
There's so many of these games.
I know.
How do they keep making them?
Because people keep buying them.
Yeah, but but how do they there's a new Yakuza game like every 18 months, it seems like.
So I was listening to somebody on Game Scoop, the IGN podcast, talking about it, and apparently, again, I don't play them, so I can't deny or confirm this, but I believe them, that almost all of the games are set in this exact same city, so they just reuse assets constantly.
Yeah, so it's set in a district called Kamurocho, and you do goes to the sort of the same areas over and over again. So I guess yeah, that makes sense. But there's the fucking like there's the Fist of the North. There's the Pirate Run. There's the Fist of the North Star spinoff one. Yeah. Like all this shit. Like how do they? Oh, it's crazy.
Yeah. Persona 5 Tactica is leaving as well, and Somerville. Oh man, Somerville. Fuck. I wanted to play that. Damn it.
Well, you've got a week to do it.
Yeah. Shit. I'll have to. That was one of the games I was going to play with my friend. I will have to message them and be like, "Hey, we got to play this, or we're we're never going to." All right, and finally, the biggest news of the week. You referenced it, I think, either last episode or the episode before that, wondering when Sony's financial report was going to come out. Well, it's out. Sony's video game business saw impressive growth during the most recent financial quarter, boosted by sales of blockbuster action game Black Myth Wukong that more than made up for the disastrous launch of Concord. Check off.
How could you possibly make up for that? Did it make them $400 million? Then no, it didn't make up for it.
Well, let's see what it says here. Sony's Game and Network Services division, which includes PlayStation, brought in approximately $7 billion during the second quarter of the financial year.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. July to September. That's a significant increase of 12% year on year. Profit tripled to approximately $911 million, up a whopping 184% year on year. Those positive results were good enough for Sony to raise its financial year forecast for its gaming business. Sony said the boost to revenue came from an increase in sales of non-first-party games, including add-on content, microtransactions, as well as the impact of foreign exchange rates, and an increase in sales from network services, mainly from PlayStation Plus. Sony gets a cut from all sales on the PlayStation Store, and of course generates revenue from sales away from its platforms such as Steam. Dragging those sales down, however, was the continued fall of PlayStation 5 sales. On the operating income side, Sony said it had an improvement in hardware profitability. Typically consoles are sold at a loss, as well as the aforementioned increase in sales of third-party games and network services. Sony said another 3.8 million PS5 units. That was written poorly. I'm gonna rewrite this in my mind. Sony sold another 3.8 million PlayStation 5 units during this quarter, down 29% compared to the same period last year. That's a huge drop. 29%. The 4-year-old console is now on 65.5 million units shipped, with Sony recently admitting the PS5 is in its second half of its life cycle. God, I can't talk
Well,
today.
well, yeah, of course it is. It's been out for 4 years.
Yep. PlayStation Network has 116 million monthly active users, flat quarter on quarter. So they haven't really gained or lost anybody in this quarter.
Mm-hmm.
As reported by VGC, Sony specifically mentioned, quote, a new sports title, EA Sports FC 2025 probably, launched at the end of September, and as an action RPG title from China, Black Myth Wukong, for PlayStation sales success in the quarter. Black Myth Wukong from Chinese developer Game Science launched on August 19th and sold an eye-watering 18 million copies in 2 weeks across PC and PlayStation 5, reportedly making over $700 million in revenue in the process. That's enough to put Black Myth Wukong up there with Grand Theft Auto 5 and Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 as one of the fastest-selling games of all time, and is an astonishing return for a game that had a reported budget of $70 million over 6 years of development. There's a lot to say. Holy shit. My voice is going to suck at the end of all this recording today. Concord, a live service hero shooter from Sony-owned Firewalk Studios, which is now closed,
Yep.
followed on August 23rd, but flopped spectacularly amid disastrously low player numbers. Sony hauled Concord offline just 2 weeks after launch. It eventually shuttered Firewalk and confirmed Concord wouldn't return.
It still blows my mind that it only took them 2 weeks. I thought for sure they were going to try and
I know.
Keep it going. That's insane.
Yeah. The Sony-developed Astrobot, which was also released during the financial quarter, has sold 1.5 million copies. Despite its recent financial successes, Sony's gaming business has endured a difficult year with sweeping layoffs and multiple studio closures. What else here? Sony now commits to releasing major single-player games every year from 2025 onwards. So what's it cooking? Sony's high-profile live service struggles have seen the cancellation of Naughty Dog's The Last of Us multiplayer game, and most recently, the disastrous release and then unrelease of Concord, which resulted in the closure of its developers. Yeah.
Which resulted in the closure? That makes it sound like it was like, it just closed. Who closed it, Sony? Did it just close by itself? No, you fucking closed it.
Yep.
That's what they call the passive voice. A thing just happened. No, you did the thing.
Yep. You bought them and you funded it. Amid the turmoil, however, Sony has reaffirmed its commitment to major single-player games. Speaking during an investor call, Sony's finance and IR chief... this is going to be a tough one for me to try and pronounce.
I believe in you.
Sadahiko Hayakawa.
That's not a bad attempt.
Sadahiko Hayakawa. That sounds
right. Good.
Said that while it has no major first-party games coming out before the end of its current financial year, ending March 2025, the company plans to continue releasing major single-player titles every year from next financial year onwards. So what major single-player games does Sony have in the works? In the same financial call, Hayakawa pointed to Sucker Punch's Ghost of Yotei.
Yep.
Oof, I almost fucked that up.
You got it at the end.
Yep. The sequel to 2020's smash hit, Ghost of Tsushima, Ghost of Yotei.
Yep.
Due out at some point in 2025 would certainly qualify as one of Sony's major single-player titles. Sony is also set to publish Kojima Productions' Death Stranding 2 on the Beach as a PS5 exclusive at some point in 2025, so that's at least 2 single-player games of high caliber next year. Looking further ahead, or to unannounced 2025 releases, Marvel's Spider-Man 2 developer Insomniac has its Wolverine game in the works.
We don't even have a date for that.
I didn't include it last week on the news because I didn't really think too much of it, but I kind of thought about it afterwards, and I kind of regret not putting it in there. But Wolverine's creative director left in August and joined Xbox.
Oh, okay.
So maybe that has something to do with it. That's
maybe.
Creative director's kind of important.
Yeah, that's not like, oh yeah, one of the fucking like
Programmers
assistant
or
programmers left. I mean, a
yeah.
programmer leaving is bad, but like when one of the people who is directing, managing the creative direction of your project leaves, yeah. Yeah,
Mm.
that probably has something to do with it.
I also find it a little weird that they announced that game so early, and I think they announced it in 2021, if I remember correctly. And it's now
Yeah.
2024, and they still haven't even shown it. So that game
Yeah.
might either be in trouble or has been in trouble. We'll see.
That's the kind of thing that makes me go, "Oh, we need something to please the stock price.
Yeah,
Let's tell them that we're making a Wolverine game, even though it's nowhere near done."
yeah. Um, we know God of War developer Sony Santa Monica has something cooking, and Guerrilla looks set to round out the Horizon trilogy with another single-player adventure, although that is reportedly a long way in the distance.
Well, yeah.
Naughty, Naughty Dog 2 has multiple single-player games coming down the pipeline. Elsewhere, we know that Days Gone developer Bend has a new IP up its sleeve, as does Little Big Planet and Dreams maker Media Molecule. Returnal developer Housemarque is working on something new, as is Bluepoint Games and Firesprite. And
Wait,
Polyphony is no.
Bluepoint is working on something new.
Yeah,
Is
that's.
that like original, or is that another remake of something?
I think we talked about this several weeks ago, but
Yeah, I feel like we did, but I don't remember what we said.
we don't really know. The quote was that they're working on an original new IP.
Okay, then they're probably
But
making something new.
yeah, but the way that they worded it made it sound like they could be working on an IP that's original to PlayStation, but it's
Yeah,
a
but
new
if it's
game.
okay, they
You know what I
could,
mean?
but it's not just a remake of something extant.
No, yeah, it doesn't appear to be a remake. No,
Yeah. Okay.
which is
Cool.
interesting.
Cool.
Yeah,
I probably said this then because it's how I feel. Is I'll be looking forward to seeing what they do because they got
yeah,
talented people there. But
yep.
we've only really seen what they do when they're handling other people's work. It'll
Mm-hmm.
be interesting to see what they come up with themselves.
100% agreed.
But the fact that they've been able to recreate other people's games so well means that
They got talent.
they've got competent people there. I'm sure they'll do fine.
Yep. Polyphony is also no doubt hard at work on Gran Turismo 7, and following the success of Astrobot, all eyes will be on Team Asobi to see what they do next.
Does Polyphony do anything other than Gran Turismo?
No.
Did they ever? I feel like they made something else at some point.
Let me look it up real quick. I hate their name. Polyphony Digital Wiki. Games developed. They've only made 2 other games outside of Gran Turismo: Omega Boost and Tourist Trophy.
Are those both racing games? Because Omega Boost kind of sounds like it might be a sci-fi racing game.
Nope. Omega Boost is a 3D shoot 'em up.
Oh, okay. What's that for?
PlayStation 1.
I think you know what. When we looked at magazines, I think we might have gone over that one briefly because it sounds familiar. That might have been in like the list of essential survival games. Remember from the January 2000 issue of PSM that we looked at? That might have been in there.
It looks like a mech shooter, like almost like Zone of the Endless, I think it's called, or Zone of the Enders.
Yeah.
And Tourist Trophy is a motorcycle racing game.
Okay.
So there you go. There's a lot in the works at PlayStation Studios to come over the course of the next few years, or however many years that PlayStation 5 has left in it before PlayStation releases the inevitable PlayStation 6. And throughout it all, Sony's live service push continues with Guerrilla's Horizon Online, Bungie's Marathon, and Haven's Fair Games, all in development. Meanwhile, Sony continues to do deals with external developers that see single-player games launch first on PlayStation 5. For example, it partnered with Square Enix for Final Fantasy VII Remake, Final Fantasy XVI, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Shift Up for Stellar Blade, Game Science for the record-breaking Black Myth Wukong, Team Ninja's Rise of the Ronin, and Bloober's Silent Hill 2 Remake. Hold on a second.
Black Myth Wukong launched exclusively on PlayStation?
PC and PlayStation, yeah.
Oh, okay. Because I
Yeah,
was
it's
going to
not.
say, it came out on PC, didn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah. I think they just mean keep it off of Xbox.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, kick them while they're down, basically.
Yeah.
Hey,
Also,
they're fucking fucking their own
I
ass. Let's
don't know
just kick
how
them while
much
they're down.
I don't know how much market share PlayStation has in China. Like game consoles in general, there are kind of a toss up to get because of the Chinese government and
Mm,
how they police that so much. Like PC gaming is by far it might be mobile gaming now. It's
well,
probably
here's the
mobile gaming
thing.
now.
Here's the weird thing about this article is that it says that they've done deals, that they did deals with all these people, but at no point was Black Myth Wukong advertised as a PlayStation 5 exclusive.
Mm,
And at no point has Sony acknowledged that they have a deal with them. So I
mm,
don't know why that's in this list, besides the fact that it is only available on PlayStation and not on Xbox.
mm.
But they never said that they have a deal with Game Science. So that's been a little controversial because everyone's like, why is it only on PlayStation 5 if there's no deal there?
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, and that is the news. Whew. That was a lot.
Oh, I got one little thing to add.
Sure.
There's talk of maybe a new Virtua Fighter from Sega, and
Yeah.
that's about all there is to say.
Yeah, there's really nothing more to that makes sense though. I think we had talked about how they're redoing a lot of their old
Yeah,
franchises, Crazy
but
Taxi and
I just thought it was worth bringing up, not because there's a lot to talk about, but because Virtua Fighter fans, and I've mentioned this before, they are fucking starving, man.
yeah, them and Soul fans.
Oh yeah, Soul Calibur.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, there was Soul Calibur 6 a few years ago.
Was there?
Yeah, it had
Oh,
Geralt
I don't
from
know
The
my thing
Witcher
up
in
then.
it.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah,
That shows how much I'm paying attention to fighting games.
yeah. There hasn't been a new Virtua Fighter in fucking
No.
like the last one came out on the PS3, I think.
Really? There was one. I didn't even know there was one on PS3. I would have thought the last one would have been Dreamcast.
No, 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 no. They kept making them after that. But let me look up real quick. What was the last
Virtua Fighter.
Virtua Fighter?
I never played a Virtua Fighter game, I don't think. I may have played a PlayStation 1 game if it was on PlayStation 1.
No, it was on Saturn because it was a Sega
Oh, okay.
franchise.
Definitely never played
The
it then.
last Virtua Fighter game was Virtua Fighter 5, released in the arcade in 2006 and on the PS3 and Xbox 360 in 2007.
Wow.
So
Yeah, it's been a long time for that series for sure.
it's it's been reduced.
One might call that a dormant franchise.
Yeah. Now they've had like I don't know if they're emulated. There was some discussion over it. But there have been Virtual Fighter games within the arcades in the Yakuza games. But there was some discussion that maybe they were native ports because of the way they were running. They didn't run like emulation. I don't really know because like I said, I'm terrified of getting into the Yakuza series because I know that I will just look at how easily I disappeared into Chrono Trigger, a game I've played a million times. You give me something like the Yakuza games and I will never be heard from again.
No. No.
It's terrifying to me.
Yeah, they're long games and there's a lot of them.
Yeah.
So a lot of them. Way too many.
But
right.
yeah, so hopefully the Virtual Fighter people get something because they are starved.
I feel like we're gonna get a pretty good video game awards this year. I feel like there's a lot of stuff cooking right now, you know?
Yeah.
All right. Then let's move on to topic of the week.
Yeah, now we had a bit of a rush for this one because
Kinda, yeah.
So it was yesterday that I texted you and I was like, "Oh fuck, it's Thursday. We need to decide a topic."
Yeah, normally we decide on like Sunday, Monday.
Yeah.
But we completely forgot about it. I don't know how we did that, but
Well,
we did.
because you're doing other stuff. Didn't you record a wrestling renaissance?
Tuesday.
Yeah. So you've got you were doing that, and like I said, I was in Chrono Trigger mode.
Yeah. Yeah.
I gotta get better, but I shouldn't play 2 games that can suck me in like that in a row because it totally throws off my sense of time.
There's a
Uh,
there's a suck me joke in there
yeah, it's
somewhere, but
somewhere in there,
I couldn't
but
I can't find
I
it.
checked the phrasing so that it wasn't immediate.
Good.
But anyway, so we're like, fuck, we got to throw something together. So this might not be as comprehensive or as structured as usual, but it happens
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah, and I was able to come up with a good list.
Yeah, so you basically came up with the stuff we're going to be talking about today.
Yes.
This has pretty much just been a show where I'm a sounding board, and and I just react to what you say and
That's
give my
okay.
take on it because I've
That's all
brought
right.
very little to the.
That's all right.
I gotta get back into bringing in news articles.
Yeah, that's all right. No big deal.
Yeah.
All right. So, topic of the week this week is gaming pet peeves. This list is entirely mine. So
Yeah.
I'll be interested to see what
I'm
you have to
sure
say
I
about
will
them.
have things to add as
Oh yeah.
you talk about it. I'll be like, oh, and that reminds me of this thing that pisses me off.
Yep.
I actually do have one. And
Sure.
it's not
Yeah. If
really
you want to.
the thing is, this isn't really a pet peeve so much as a thing that I wish games would do. So it's not exactly, but fuck it. Like, you know,
But
it,
fuck
it,
it.
it fits. So here's the thing that I wish games would do is I wish that games had a button that you could hit that would have like a cursor you could put over something on the UI and it would tell you what the fuck it does. Because
Mm-hmm.
From Software games do that. You hit like the select button or whatever the equivalent on your controller is, and then you can highlight things and it'll say, this icon represents this. This icon represents that. And you know why I was thinking about this? Because I was playing Death Stranding and I was looking at the UI and I was like, wait, what does this thing represent? What does this thing do? Fucking how do I also just the UI in that game in general, like I can't check the health of the truck that I'm driving very easily. Like
Mm-hmm.
there's no health bar on the UI. I mean, I can see the truck starting to, rust up, but like can I see a health bar? Well, if you get out or if you take it to a a place with a garage, like one of the distribution centers, and then you park it in there, and then you go and look at it in the menu from the terminal. You can, but I can't just like. Is there a way to fucking to do that in the game? Not that I was able to find out. Pain in my
No.
ass. Kind of random rambling there, but that was pissing
Yeah.
me off.
I'm gonna add a bonus pet peeve that kind of
Sure.
links to yours because I didn't think about it, but um, it's not really a pet peeve. It's just a complaint about the industry as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what happened to game manuals?
Well, I'll tell you what happened to game manuals. It's an expense that they don't have to do now because they've got enough space on disk to just fit tutorials into the game.
But you just said that you just played Death Stranding and you didn't know what this icon did, and there's no way to tell.
Yeah, that's because they didn't do a good job of explaining it. But then that leads to the question of would they have put it in the manual? Would have they if they don't do a good job of explaining it, changing the medium by which they explain it is probably not going to improve the situation.
I mean, most classic manuals had a picture of the HUD, and then had little lines that said this is this is that, this is your health, this is
Yeah, but not all
So
of them did.
no, I miss manuals though.
It's a documentation issue. They need to do better at it.
Yeah, agreed. All right, let's get into the real list.
Yes.
So I have 10 here. Let's kick things off with one. I was gonna do them in order, but given what you just talked about, I'm gonna complain about something related to it, which is clunky UI.
Yeah.
I UI can make or break a game.
Yeah.
And the best examples that I can give of this are survival crafting games.
Oh God, yeah.
I played Valheim, and it's super intuitive and very smooth and very quick and easy to understand. And then I went back and I played Ark, and I went, "What the fuck is this shit?"
Yeah.
It is awful.
Any game that necessitates ideally what you want for a user interface in a video game is one that is as quick and as efficient as possible, so the
Yes,
player doesn't spend a lot of time in there. They
exactly.
spend more time playing the game than managing it.
Yep,
Now, if you have a game that, for whatever reason, has a gameplay mechanic that really only works through menus, that's fine. Make them really easy to navigate.
yep, yep. Yeah, the Arc menu system is so clunky, so many submenus. The controls to get around those menus are awful. I don't know how it is on PC, but on console it's atrocious.
Yeah.
Um, and then you go play Valheim and you're like, oh yeah, boom, 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 done, 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 done. It's like okay, it's like play your game, play your game before you release it. You know,
Yeah.
see how good the UI is. Are you
Yeah,
annoyed by
like
the UI?
yeah, find out where the bottlenecks in it are. Like, where are the points where you're getting stuck and you're like, oh no, I hit the wrong thing, but it felt like the right thing to hit.
Yeah,
Maybe that shouldn't be the button that you hit then. If the
exactly.
instinct is to hit that button and it cancels it and you didn't want it to cancel, don't make that the cancel button.
Yep, 100%.
Also, have a thing where, like, if you're in like several layers deep in a menu, have the ability to both back out of each layer separately and just get rid of the menu entirely. Death Stranding actually does this. This is one thing where it does it really well. Is when you get deep into the menus, you can just, on my Xbox controller, it's the B button, and it'll take you one layer back, or you can
Yep.
just hit the start button and it'll just close down the whole thing. See, that's nice.
Yes, 100%. Yeah, yeah. Smooth that shit out.
Mm-hmm.
Um, let's see what my next pet peeve is here. Mm, all right, let's do this one. Games that should have co-op that don't,
Oh yeah, that's a big one.
and games that should have split screen multiplayer that don't.
Yeah.
Um, I can't. So I understand. We live in the world of online multiplayer. I get
Mm-hmm.
it. Why invest time into split screen when so many people don't play it anymore?
Yeah,
But
and when you can charge people for access to Xbox Live and PlayStation Network.
yeah, exactly. But split screen is like it's necessity,
It's
you know?
really, really, really nice for a lot of games.
Yeah, it's so important to me,
Mm-hmm.
and especially racing games. Can
Yeah,
you? There are so many racing games I would have played if they had split screen,
yeah.
but they don't.
Like,
Like none of the Need for Speed games over the last like 10 years have multiplayer.
yeah, nothing is more like
Split screen multiplayer.
defeating than like being at a friend's place and saying, "Oh, let's play this game together." And you pick it up, you put it in, and then you find, "Oh, it doesn't have split screen." It's like we're fucking right here next to each other and we can't play the game together. I have to go back home and then we play over the internet. Are you fucking kidding me? Then how we're
Hmm.
not really hanging out anymore, are we?
Nope. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really annoying. Um, and then games that should have co-op that don't. I mean, the most recent example obviously is Halo Infinite. Why did that not have local co-op? I have no freaking idea. I think
Yeah.
eventually they added online co-op, maybe. I
Yeah, I'm
think,
pretty sure it has online co-op now. But
but like,
that wasn't added for a while.
yeah, like why was that not included at that launch? I do
Yeah,
not
especially
understand.
because Halo is so much fun to play co-op. Campaign
Yeah,
co-op in Halo is awesome.
yeah, it was always a defining feature of that series, and then you just didn't include it.
Yeah. In fact,
Okay.
I don't think I've ever beaten the original Halo. No, I have, but I've first beat it with my cousin.
Mm,
We were playing it and we just went through and beat the game. I was like, "Oh, that was so much fun."
yep,
And I did eventually beat it on my own later, but like I first beat it campaign co-op. It was great.
yep. Um, let's see other games that should have had co-op. I've always been surprised that Doom doesn't have multiplayer
The
co-op.
recent Doom,
I mean, any of them really, but yeah,
the
most.
original does.
Oh, the original does. Okay, so yeah, then definitely the modern Doom and Doom
Yeah,
Eternal. Why
the
why do they
Doom
not have
and
co-op?
Doom 2 have I believe it's 4-player co-op. They have
Mm,
4-player like deathmatch, but I believe the co-op is also 4-player. Quake also has co-op. Quake
yeah.
2 has co-op. I actually played Quake co-op with a friend of mine We had a blast. We went through it. We went through all the expansions. We went through the new stuff from the remaster that came out like a year and a half ago. We had a blast.
Resident Evil 0. That game is literally 2 people.
Yeah.
The whole time, and it's not co-op.
That would be a difficult one to do split screen, but it could be done.
Yeah, it definitely could be done. Wasn't Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker co-op?
I think it had an online component.
Yeah, like an online co-op.
No, I don't think so. At least not the version. I played the PS3 version. I never played the PSP version. I don't know if the PSP version has something different from the PS3 version, because I have it in the Metal Gear Solid collection.
It says Peace Walker HD has it. Maybe that's the... Well, it's online co-op, it looks like, but no local co-op. But
maybe it's some kind of special mission thing. I never touched it. I just played the main game.
But Phantom Pain was like built for co-op. Like it looked, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that open world, select a mission, go together, customize your loadout. That game would have been sick with some sort of co-op in it.
I mean, it wouldn't have really made sense for the story, but it would have been fun.
Yeah,
fun. Why not? Well, even then, why not bring one of the soldiers that you've abducted and converted to your fucking nation state?
And let's be fair, co-op in a lot of games doesn't make sense. I mean, when you play co-op in Halo, you're both Master Chief.
Well, in Halo 3, your Master Chief, player 1 is Master Chief, player 2 is the Arbiter, and then player 3 and 4 are some other random elites. But I know what you mean.
Yeah. Obviously, the biggest one for me, though, is Subnautica.
Yeah. But that Subnautica 2 has it. Or
Subnautica 2 has co-op. I cannot fucking wait, man.
Yeah.
Dragon's Dogma. That's another one. Why the hell is that not co-op? It's literally a party of 4 people in an action game. Action RPG. It's fucking weird. Have you ever played Hard Space Shipbreaker?
No.
It's that game where you like cut apart ships. That game would have been great with co-op. But yeah.
So you're like a what? Like you're scrapping derelict ships or something?
Yeah.
Oh.
It's like a very it's like a very meditative game.
I'm gonna have to look into that.
Yeah, you're floating in space, and basically you have this like gigantic debt to pay off. So you join this this company that takes apart ships,
shipwrecks. Okay. Yeah.
And depending on how well you do each shipwreck, you get paid more, and so you're getting that loan down basically, or that debt down. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's very interesting, but it's tough. It's not easy. But I feel like it was built for co-op because like just cooperating to take down like these big ships and stuff. Oh, it'd be so fun. All right, let's move on from that though. Obviously, that's a huge pet peeve of mine.
Yeah, we could go on for years about games that should have co-op.
Absolutely. We talked recently about this one. In fact, this episode we've talked about this one. Online connection required for single player games.
Fuck, it's the worst.
It's fucking stupid. I cannot stand that shit.
I genuinely consider that to be the single worst practice in the industry right now.
Yeah, 100%.
Because it's so completely fucking backwards.
Yeah, if I want to play offline, give me the fucking option to play offline.
I paid for the fucking game. Let me play it offline.
Yeah, you introduced bots in Call of Duty, and I have to be connected online still. Fuck you. That makes no sense. And like Diablo 4, you can't play that game unless you have internet. Like, why is there no offline mode? Makes no fucking sense. It's so stupid. Yeah, I could go on and on about that.
I'm not gonna fucking pay money for a game to have a goddamn like probation, the fucking little like the thing they put on your ankle to make sure that you don't leave because you're under house arrest and leaving your property violates your probation. Yeah. Fuck that. No.
Yeah,
and the thing is, the people who pirate those games, they don't have to worry about that shit because it's been cracked out.
Yep.
So you're literally getting a worse deal by doing the thing they want you to do and paying for the game. If you treat your paying customers, like if you give them a worse product than the pirates are getting, you fucked up, because
Yep.
that just tells people, go pirate the
Go
game.
pirate it.
Not only do you get it for free, but you get a better experience out of it. Like, there's
100%.
literally no downside to it.
Yep. And if people can take it out, you can take it out.
Yeah.
So just don't put it in there to begin with.
Yeah.
All right, next up. Unskippable cutscenes.
They're the fucking worst.
I fully understand if it's the first time you're playing the game,
or if it's a cinematic that like disguises a loading screen.
Yeah, but if you're playing the second time and these cutscenes last an hour, it's like, I just want to fucking play the game, bro.
Yeah,
dude.
You know what game does this the best is The Witcher 3, because instead of having just a skip, like the whole scene button, you like it's basically the way that they're constructed is it goes from one line of dialogue to the next.
Yeah, you skip that line.
Yeah.
So you can just read it and just go forward.
It's so good.
Yeah.
It's so good. And I realize that that's probably a scripting nightmare for the developer, but God, I appreciate it 100%. So much.
Yep. Agreed. Yeah. Also the option to skip, like, it's not in my list. It's not in my list, but like the intro to Metal Gear Solid 5 is brutal.
Yeah.
It's fun the first time, but when I want to play it again, it's like, I don't care about that anymore.
We've talked about this before, because Fallout 3 is another one where it's got
way too long.
The intro is really, really good. That is a really strong intro for a game.
Yeah.
But having to do it every single time, like...
Yeah, the game needs like a
skip me to the point where it goes to the revolt in the vault, and then just...
And some games do this. Remnant 2 is a game that does this. So after you've beaten not beaten the game once, but after you've done the tutorial first, you can skip the prologue of the whole game for every character you make after that. It just goes right past the first hour of the game. It just starts you off in the city. It's like, okay. I like that shit.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right. You and I talked much about this after playing Ghost of Tsushima, and that is clothing clipping. Cannot fucking stand this shit.
It's a minor one, but man, like there was a time when it was acceptable, right?
Yeah.
Like back in the N64 and the PS1 and even the Dreamcast days, it was like, yeah, okay, I get it. Collisions are expensive, and if you're gonna use collisions to prevent clipping, like that's gonna negatively affect the performance on the N64 or any of the hardware of that day. So I totally understand it. Even like on the PS2 and the Xbox and the GameCube, I get it. At this point, though, it's kind of like, excuse. Guys, come on.
Yeah, especially in a AAA first-party game like Ghost of Tsushima. So for those of you who don't know what we're talking about, as an example, in Ghost of Tsushima, there are different outfits that you can wear, and they all give you different advantages and disadvantages. So you want to wear different ones for different situations. But there is one particular... one out of all the outfits, there's one, the Traveler's outfit, which is the first one you fucking get in the game, by the way.
It's got really obvious clipping on it.
Yeah. So you have a cape, and for some fucking stupid reason, they gave you a belt that you wear that also has like a... What do they call those?
It's like a length of strap that just kind of hangs.
like on a... What do they call the karate outfits?
Robe. A gi.
A gi, yeah. Like the rope on a gi, the belt on a gi is hanging down behind you.
Yeah.
So it clips into the cape when the cape is not blowing in the wind.
Yeah.
Oh,
and it's really obvious because we couldn't spot, like you told me, it's the only outfit that has any obvious clipping. And you showed me all of them.
Yeah, they all are perfect.
You can see them in the menu where you select them from, which is a really nice feature. Thank you for doing that. And you were like rotating the character model and showing me, and I was like, oh yeah, these look really nice. And then you're like, and then this is the one. And immediately, because it happens in the back, which is the part that's facing the camera.
Yeah. If it was in front, I'd be like, okay, whatever.
Yeah, but I'm not going to see it most of the time.
Yeah. Yeah. It's right there staring me in the face as I'm walking all the fucking time. Hate that shit.
And as somebody who's been doing 3D modeling for, a little over 2 years, but about 2 years now, I appreciate how incredibly difficult it is to prevent that from happening.
That one in particular was easy, though. Just get rid of the
Yeah.
fucking belt.
Yeah,
The belt
but
doesn't even need to be there. You can't see it. It's
that
under your
one,
cape.
yeah, that one was like, that one was, it was such an obvious fix. I'm like, guys,
Yeah, just eliminate the freaking belt.
or
You're
just
good.
rotate where the parts of the belt that hang off are. Have them
Put
hang
them in
off
front
the side,
instead. Yeah, or the
front,
side.
or anywhere but the back where they're going to go through the cape. Yeah, that's a really,
and you can't tell me nobody didn't notice this in game testing.
That's why it's such a weird oversight, because how could nobody have seen that and said, oh yeah, this is an easy fix.
Yeah, and nobody fixed it. To
redesign this one small part of the model. Yeah.
It was an obvious choice to leave that there, and it's like, why did you do that?
That's a very strange thing. I can't reasonably explain that other than we don't think it's a big enough deal to fix.
There is other clipping in the game that is annoying, but it's less annoying.
Yeah, I can't imagine anything being more obvious than that. It was very blatant.
there is another one that's stupid and was easily preventable, but they just didn't. Again, it's just one of those things they didn't do for whatever reason, and that is the default pose that your character has when his arms are at his side. His hand clips into the handle of the sword that's on his side.
That's weird.
So when you're in cutscenes and he's got that pose, there's just this obligatory, obvious clipping going on.
Yeah, that's weird, because my first instinct would be, well, if the hand is near the sword and there's a clipping issue, why don't we just animate the hand to be resting on the hilt of the sword?
Which he does sometimes.
Yeah,
but when he's not, it's clipping it.
Yeah, that's...
I hate that shit. It just drives me nuts.
Yeah.
So again, it's not a big deal. It's not game breaking, but
no.
It's at least it breaks it. I never used that outfit because of that, because it drove me nuts. I'm like looking at this going, it's broken. I hate that shit.
Yeah, and we're at a time where I don't think adding the collisions to prevent that from happening and just having the objects, one object stop another.
Yeah.
I don't think it would be debilitating on the CPU. It's like, you've got such massively powerful processors right now. Like, surely you can spare a little bit of that clock time for just a simple thing that
cape that doesn't clip.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I'm sure that there's like 1,000 more examples I could give of that, but Ghost of Tsushima is the one that rang the bell. So
yeah.
This next one kind of connects with online connections required, because it does also happen in games that require online connections. But there's also games that don't require an online connection that this one happens in, and that is the inability to pause.
Hate that shit. If your game is online, I totally get it, because you can't exactly just pause for the other. Well, actually, I have played an online game where pausing pauses it for the other player. Dead Rising 2. Which has a co-op mode. If you pause it, well, you can't pause the game, but you can go into the Xbox system menu, and that pauses the game for the other player. It brings up a little message that says other player is navigating a menu. And that shit is annoying.
Yeah.
Because there's no way to chat in that game, so if the other player
just tell him I gotta go piss.
Yeah, if the other player wants to do something specific in your co-op session, they have to send you a message on Xbox Live, which necessitates bringing up the menu. But
there wasn't party voice chat by then?
No. Well, it existed, but the game just doesn't do it for whatever reason.
You're talking about on Xbox, though, you can go into a voice chat party that's separate from the game, I thought.
Was that on the 360?
Oh, it was 360.
Yeah, because Dead Rising 2 is a 360 game.
I don't know. I never really played a whole lot of online games on 360, so I couldn't tell you.
It was very strange that they didn't allow it. Like, it was weird.
That is weird.
But yeah, if your game is single player, fucking let people pause the game. Sometimes you got to take a shit or answer the phone or a million other things.
A lot of survival crafting games don't let you pause because they want the world to continue
Yeah.
being active while you're in menus crafting
Yeah,
and stuff, and it's like,
and
yeah, but give me a pause option somewhere.
yeah, like I understand it's like, oh, but in real life the world doesn't stop. Yeah,
Yeah,
but also real life is more important than the game. My baby is
exactly,
crying. I got to take care of that. You
exactly,
know, you
100%.
you can't pull back the veneer and say, yes, this is a game. We'll let you pause.
Yeah,
Like, fuck off.
exactly, agreed,
Your vision should not take priority over my time as a human being who might have important shit to deal with in real life.
agreed. We talked about this next one a little bit last week when we talked about XCOM. Um, but I think it's one of the worst game mechanics ever, and that is chance to hit or missing
Yeah,
attacks. Uh, in any game I've ever played, I hate it. I hate
yeah,
it. I hate it. I hate it. I don't give a rat's ass. There are so many better ways to implement what you're trying to do without making the player feel like that turn was just wasted.
yeah.
It's so fucking annoying. And XCOM 2 is the most egregious example of that.
Yeah, because
90% to hit, miss.
the numbers are just a
Fuck you.
flat out lie.
Yeah, just bullshit.
I,
Hate
I
that
feel
shit.
like I feel like if the numbers are beyond a certain threshold, it should just go straight to 100.
Yeah, agreed.
Like if your odds, like
Or
let's
just don't do it at all. Just make up for it with something
well,
else.
I can understand for like a turn-based tactical game because how do you know, like how do you compensate for
Well,
like
hey, I just told you about Metal Gear or Metal Slug Tactics, the dodge mechanic and all that.
yeah, yeah.
There's ways
But
around it.
yeah, there are ways around it, but like I understand like because XCOM you're like increasing the rank of a soldier from like a rookie to a veteran, and
Yeah,
it's like how do you express that? Well, one of the ways is their aim is better. I can understand saying like you only have a 25% chance to hit. Okay, if you've got a 90%, like what are the odds that somebody who has a 90% chance of hitting is going to miss? Pretty low. Just after a
10%.
certain after a certain threshold, just bump it straight to 100. Come on. Cuz
Yeah.
the other thing is you never actually see, oh, you have a 100% chance to hit in these games. You
In
know,
XCOM, you do. If
when
you
did
can,
when do you ever see that? I've never seen it in XCOM.
if you flank them, you should have 100% if you're within a
Oh,
certain distance.
if you get like if it's basically a point blank shot.
Nearly, yeah.
Yeah, well, that's
It
stupid
still
because
it still should be 100% if you're just within a certain distance and have a clear
yeah,
shot.
yeah.
It should be.
If you're within the weapon's effective range and you have a clear unobstructed shot, yeah, it should just be 100%.
Yeah, it's really annoying. The other worst game I've played it in is Darkest Dungeon,
Yeah,
which is a really hard game to begin with.
yeah.
You know,
Throwing like random chance into a game that really punishes you for your mistakes
yeah,
is downright unfair because like
yeah,
making a bad tactical decision is bad enough, but then the game just saying, no, dice roll didn't go in your favor. It's like, but I made the right decision.
yeah,
Yeah, but we're not
exactly.
giving it to you anyway. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. It's not rewarding your player. It's punishing your player for them doing nothing wrong. It's
yeah,
so
if
stupid.
you do something wrong as a player, absolutely you get punished for it. If you do the right thing, like if this is the thing that the game is telling you to do by it being like giving you such a high hit percentage and then it still doesn't give it to you, it's like, well, fuck you then. What else was I
Yeah,
supposed to do?
agreed. Yeah, exactly. It's like it was like I was guaranteed to lose. You
Yeah.
know, it's like that's not fun. Um, yeah. So that's I hate that shit. Hate it. This next one doesn't happen as often anymore, which I am very, very happy for. But they were extremely aggressive in the late Zelda entries pre Breath of the Wild, and that is extreme handholdies, is what I call them.
Yeah.
Handholdies. Games that stop you every fucking 10 seconds to be like, hey, did you know if you press B, you'll jump? No fucking shit.
Yeah.
Like don't treat me like I've never played a video game before.
Dude, Death
Or when you
Stranding does that as well, where and you can turn it off, but it'll
yes.
give you the fucking like helpful hints. But it'll
Mhm.
do it every single time. And those hint pop-ups are like a huge gradient that takes up a quarter of the screen.
Yeah. 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 Yeah, I remember that shit.
Yeah,
it's
at least there's an
annoying.
option to let you turn it off, but the fact that it's on by default is like really maddening. Like,
And
why
that was
would
the
you?
thing with the Zelda games. They could have easily avoided that by having an option at the beginning that says, "Are you new to video games?"
Yeah, or hey, we notice it's been a while since you've played this. Do you want us to turn back on all the helpful little hints to remind you how to
Exactly.
play?
Yeah.
Sure.
It's less than a difficulty option. Like, you know what I
Yeah,
mean? It's like, come
it
on.
requires zero rebalancing.
Yeah.
It's
Just
literally do you pop the message or do you
yeah.
not pop the message?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I cannot stand games that do that, or games that like so obviously it didn't ruin the game, but it's still a pet peeve of mine in Sands of Time, for example. Every time you enter a room, the camera pans out and shows you where you have to go. I'm like, I
Yeah,
don't
but
need to see that. I have a 3D camera. I can look around and go, oh, I see a door up there. I got to figure out my way up there. That's an old game, so I get
yeah,
why that happened back then. But like games
I
that do it today, fuck off with that shit. I don't
I
need to see that.
like I like that because it's still a challenge of actually doing that. They also do the thing where you walk into a room and it shows you like a flash forward in time of this is how you finish it.
Oh god, I hate that
But then
shit.
it's still a question of but can you do it?
Oh no,
I
I
don't
don't want
I
no.
I don't mind that, but I understand why it pisses you off. They
Ugh.
should give you the option to skip it or to just
Or turn it
disable it.
off. Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. I hate that shit. If I can't figure it out, have a system that will allow me to figure it out. But don't fucking push it on me because you don't think I'm going to be able to figure it out. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like
like
just
some people don't just want to prove that they can do it. They also want to figure it out for themselves. I totally
exactly.
understand that.
Yep.
They should absolutely have the ability to. I mean, maybe they'll do that in the remake that they're doing. Maybe they'll say, "Hey, don't show the flash forwards of what you need to do. Just let me
Maybe.
figure it out on my own." Because
Yeah.
that would be a quality of life improvement for that game for the people who want
I
it.
I I am under the impression, as far as the remake of Sands of Time goes, that the original remake was a 1-to-1 remake,
Uh,
and this next one is going to be like a remake, like
yeah,
Final Fantasy VII remake, where they're like, "Oh, people didn't want that.
yeah,
Oh shit. Okay, let's just remake it, reboot it. You know,
yeah.
we'll see though. It's Ubisoft, so you can't really predict them right now.
Mm-hmm.
Besides them making stupid decisions.
Yeah.
All right, so yeah,
Well,
that's
which
extreme
stupid
handholdings.
decision will they make? Stay tuned to
Next,
find out.
stay tuned to Press Pause Gaming Podcast. We'll be right there to make fun of them.
Yep.
Assholes. All right. Already did clunky UI, so we got two left. Oh, this one really pisses me off. No warnings before a point of no return.
I fucking hate that, and
Oh my
I'm
god.
glad to say that a lot of games are really good about telling you that
Yes,
now.
lately, not a problem, but there are some fucking classics,
Oh
and
yeah,
oh boy, yeah, you don't want to get to the point where you can't go back and grind, or you can't go back and buy items, or you
you know
can't
what
go
the
back and
you know what's
whatever.
really bad
Mm.
is when they let you jump back into the open world, but you can't do any of the quests anymore.
Oh, I fucking hate that shit.
Fable
Yeah,
did that.
yeah,
Fable
yeah,
fucking did that.
yeah.
But you know what game is the opposite of that? Red Dead Redemption. Because, spoilers for a 12-year-old game, John Marston dies. But, which, I mean, I guess that's not really a spoiler because that's fucking, like, that's in the DLC, is that when you finish the DLC, he comes back out of the ground as a zombie.
Oh, does he?
Yeah.
That's
And then
funny.
you can free play the DLC as zombie John Marston.
That's
But
funny.
when if you beat Red Dead Redemption and you haven't done all of the side quests and stuff in the game, well, guess what? You can still do them because it throws you back into the open world as his son.
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. The I heard that Dragon Age Veilguard has side quests that disappear after specific
yeah,
points in the game, but they did two things to alleviate that. A, they warn you that
yeah.
you're now entering like the next chapter of the
Phase.
game, and you
Yeah,
may want to do some things before you proceed. And also, they implemented the an auto save system that saves right before you make a decision that will alter the rest of the game. So
Yeah.
There'll be an autosave there right before you start a point of no return, and there'll be autosaves made for right before each decision that you've made.
Yeah.
And they stay there. So you can always go back and be like, oh, fuck, I made the wrong decision here.
Yeah.
So that's cool. All right. My last one is terrible checkpoints,
Oh, yeah.
which doesn't happen too often these days. But man, there's games that really fuck that up
Yeah,
horribly.
some games have a somewhat dynamic checkpoint system where they say it's been long enough since you got one of the hard checkpoints. We'll give you a soft one here. It's not guaranteed to happen at that place. It's just if you've been like Halo does that. They have the hard
Uncharted does it.
checkpoints, but they'll also give you like the ones that okay, it's been a while since your last like predetermined checkpoint. We'll give you another one. And you can absolutely end up in a situation where you're like 2 seconds away from being run over by an enemy vehicle, and that's when they decide to give you the soft checkpoint. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I will say they do have a system to address that, which is if you die after that soft checkpoint several times in a row, they roll it back to the previous hard checkpoint because they'll be like, "Oh, clearly we gave you a bad one."
That's
But
fair.
like, I mean, because of the way that firefights go in Halo, it can be difficult for the game to predict when a good time to give you a checkpoint is.
Yeah.
But like the fact that it happens often enough means there's got to be a better way.
Yeah. Uncharted, since I just finished playing those in the later, I think it was always the same in. Let me think. Yeah, in Uncharted 2 and 3, the checkpoints were pretty good, but in 4, they're way better. Like if you fall off and like you do a lot of platforming in that game, so if you fall and die, it usually just puts you like right where you jumped, right where you jumped from, or like a 20-second walk from where you were. So they're very generous checkpoints.
Dude, fucking so. Here's the thing. I didn't actually finish Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time. I got right up to the end, but there was this area where you have to do a whole shit ton of platforming, and the very last challenge is doing wall jumps down. Because the walls are just far enough apart that you can't ascend by wall jumping, but they're not so far apart that you can't do the wall jump, and so you wall jump from one to the next to slow your descent so you don't fall to your death. But the thing is, the second, like the last point that you're at is still high enough up to kill you. So you have to make every jump. You can't even blow the last one. And this is during the part of the game where Farah has taken the dagger and run off, so you can't rewind time. And this is at the very end of a like 15-minute long platforming puzzle. And I kept dying at the end of like just trying to get that last, because it's like 6 consecutive wall jumps, and you have to do the wall jump pretty perfectly. Not 100% perfectly, but you have to be pretty accurate to the timing. And it's one of those things where it's like, I can get it most of the time. I couldn't do it consecutively enough times without messing it up. And so I would always die on the last one. And eventually I must have done that section like 10 times. And then I said, fuck it, I give up. I've basically played this entire game anyway. So whatever. But like, I just couldn't. Because I had to go, like if they had given me a checkpoint right before the downward wall jump, I would have just done it until I got it, right?
Yeah,
but the fact that I had to go through like 15 minutes of other stuff first, it was just because it meant that I spent like hours trying to do this before I gave up.
No, that's
even though it's only like a 15-minute to get there, because I died right at the end of every 15-minute trek. It broke me.
No, I hear you. A game that did that to me was remember Lost Odyssey?
Yeah.
The save points in that game are so far apart,
which is ridiculous. Like that's shit that we should have left behind on the Super Nintendo.
Yeah. there were like hour and a half to 2 hour stretches between
Oh,
save points.
fuck off.
Yeah, and that game is 4 discs long, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't beat it because there was a couple of long stretches where I'm like, okay, I can't play any longer, guys. Like, I gotta go fucking take a shit. I gotta go I gotta go to bed.
I'm an adult. I have responsibility. Yeah, you gotta.
Yeah.
Your save points should never be that far apart.
Oh, it was so brutal. Yeah. So yeah, terrible checkpoints, terrible spreading out of save points.
The longest distance that any save point should ever be is the amount of time that it takes a drink to go through you. Like if you pee and then you start playing from a save point and you immediately down like a can of Coke, that by the time you feel like you need to pee again, that's the furthest point that the save point should be. And ideally you should have one long before that.
I think that's 20 minutes is the time it takes to digest liquids, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, but then like how long does it take for it to accumulate in your bladder to feel like, oh, I gotta go?
I mean, I wouldn't want one any less than 15 minutes.
Yeah, sure. But I'm saying this is the absolute maximum
the limit.
time.
Yeah.
Not the ideal 100%. Time, the upper limit.
Yeah, agreed. 100%. All right, and that is my list of pet peeves in gaming. Again, a lot of them don't really affect modern gaming, which is nice.
Yeah.
What do you want? What do you want? You're making an appearance?
Again?
He's so needy.
I mean, I would call save points in general a pet peeve these days because, like,
we've got save points.
We've got hard drives. Just fucking, I know that saving, the entire world state at this one specific location is going to take a bunch of space, but I have a 1 terabyte hard drive in there. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah. I know you haven't played Baldur's Gate 3 yet, but you can select the intervals at which things save and how many autosave slots you want to use.
Yeah.
Which is nice. And that's a game where you really need autosave slots.
Yeah.
All right, so that is topic of the week, ladies and gentlemen, which brings us to video game 20 questions. Indeed.
Yeah, so last week I said that I had picked out a game, and I went to look it up, and I went, oh, wait. No, this might be too obscure.
Yeah. You're supposed to throw me a bone this week.
Yeah, so the thing is, I thought it was going to be simpler than it was, but then I looked into it, and it was like, oh, no. If he asks me, like, how many platforms is this on or something, I'm going to be like, well, technically it's on this and this and this and this and this. I thought it was only on the one, so... the answers to the questions became a lot more complicated. So I was like, okay, I will pick something different, which I have done.
Okay.
So I have that game up right now.
All right. Let the questioning begin.
Yes.
Did this game come out on or after January 1st, 2000?
Yes.
Did this game come on or out at... What, you know what I mean? Same question after January 1st, 2010.
No.
Okay, 2000s game. Okay. As far as the consoles go, was this exclusive to one brand of console?
Yes.
Was it Nintendo?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Good round of yeses there. Okay, was this exclusive to... GameCube?
Yes. I'm gonna give you the same. I'm gonna throw you the same bone that you threw
originally.
Me last
it was
week,
exclusive,
which is I'm gonna say technically no, but
yes.
don't get hung up on it.
But don't get hung up on it. Okay. So a GameCube exclusive. I'm assuming this wasn't first party, but I'll check anyway. Was this developed by Nintendo?
No.
Yeah, okay. Didn't think so. Was this developed by a Japanese developer?
Yes.
Okay, that's interesting. Was this developed by... I'm gonna list a couple here.
Okay.
So don't immediately say yes or no. Capcom, Bandai slash Namco, or Square didn't do anything on
Well, Bandai
GameCube.
Namco was not.
One company at the time.
Well, when did Bandai Namco, was that after 2012 or let me look that up.
I feel like it's been a while, but
Uh oh god. So okay. So they're now Bandai Namco, but they were previously Namco Bandai. Jesus
oh
Christ.
Jesus. Okay. So yeah, so was this developed by Capcom, Bandai Namco, Square Enix, or Konami?
No. It doesn't matter because the answer is no.
Because the answer is no to all of them. Holy
Yes.
shit.
We are 8 questions in, by the way.
That's not good. What other?
Hey man, I got it right on the last one last week, so
Yeah.
there's always hope.
Oh, there's always hope.
Never give up, never surrender.
Japanese developer on the GameCube. Was this a licensed game?
No.
Okay. Is this part of a larger franchise series of games?
Yes. That's 10.
Was this the first game in the series slash franchise?
No.
I didn't think so. Mm. Oh, okay. Mm. Was this game developed by, I'm gonna list some more, Sega, From, or who else was over there? I'm missing a big one, I know. It's Square. It's not Nintendo. Oh, there's. Sega, From, or Clover.
No.
Fuck. This could be a problem. I need to get away from developer because I'm not going to.
Yeah, you might want to approach this in a different way.
Yeah. Was this? Do you do shooting in? Do you shoot things in this game? Pew pew pew.
Yes. Yes, you do shoot.
Okay. Was this game considered challenging?
I would not say that it was challenging. I didn't consider it to be particularly challenging.
It's not what I'm thinking of then. Shit. Okay. But you shoot things. Is this a third-person game?
Yes. That's 15, by the way.
Third-person game where you shoot things, developed in Japan, potentially exclusive for the GameCube. Oof. Oh, but they were sequels and prequels. So, yeah, shit. It's not. I was thinking Ikaruga. That's not. That's definitely not. I don't think I got sequels either, and it's definitely hard. Fuck. A game series that was developed by a Japanese company that I'm not figuring it, and I'm not figuring out who it is. Well, who the fuck was it? The developer's gonna drive me nuts because is the developer still around today developing games?
I will have to check that. Give me a moment.
It's probably a no, or they're so obscure I'll never figure it out.
Um, as far as I can tell, they appear to be.
Oh, well, that's
You know
interesting.
what? Let me let me check. Let me do some deeper checking. They have a currently extant website, so I'm gonna say yeah, they're still around. They
Oof.
they have recent postings on their website, so
Is this a good game? Would you say?
um, I thought it was a pretty good game. You are now, I believe, 16 in. By the way,
I am drawing a blank. The lack of a developer is really fucking with me. I'm trying to figure out. It's a shooting game, third person, developed by a Japanese developer who is still around, but they're clearly not one of the major ones because I have no. I've listed them all. Or have I?
well,
I can't.
you have three left in a guess. I am going to advise you to not pursue the developer thing.
No,
It's not
I'm
going to
not.
help you.
No. Yeah. Did Nintendo publish the game?
Yes.
Okay, that's weird. A Nintendo published GameCube game that was developed in Japan. Well, it's not Silicon Knights. They're definitely not around. And they're not Japanese. I don't think so, anyway.
No, they're Canadian.
Oh, are they?
Yeah.
That's a bad look.
Well, they're not around anymore, so it's not a bad look on us anymore. But
That's true.
hold on a second. They made Blood Omen and Eternal Darkness.
Yeah, but they also made Two Human and Crashed and Burned.
Oh, yeah. But things were good at first.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true. Japanese GameCube. Oh, the game. Why is it? Why is the GameCube such a blind spot for me? There wasn't even that many games on GameCube. That's the fucking problem. But it was published by. It was a Nintendo GameCube game that was somewhat exclusive, and it was a third-person shooty game, but not developed by Nintendo. But that doesn't mean it didn't have Mario characters. Did this game take place in the Mario universe?
No.
I'm in trouble.
Yeah. You got one in a guess. You could still do it. You could have a breakthrough like I did last week.
I wish I could look behind me. It's not third person. I was thinking about Geist. Remember Geist?
Yeah, I do.
That was first person though.
I beat that game.
Yeah.
It wasn't as good as I was hoping it would be, but it's not bad.
It's better than it had any right to be. I'm trying to figure out a question that might help me, but I don't. The fact that it's published by Nintendo should be the one that helps me.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really not. Because like, if it's not in the Mario universe, but it was a GameCube exclusive, but it wasn't Resident Evil 4 because that was Capcom,
and also not GameCube exclusive for very long.
And yeah, it was only exclusive for like what
6 months.
6 months. Yeah. There was Skies of Arcadia Legends, but that was Sega. But it was a third person shooty. Like, what fucking third person shooty games are on the GameCube? Third person shooty. And it's not licensed. Oh man. Yeah, I'm pretty fucking lost here.
Anything's possible.
No, that was DS. Fuck. Yeah, what question would help me? Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna get this one. I'm drawing a complete blank, like nothing. Shooty. Plus, you and I didn't really talk during that era of games.
Yeah, we didn't hang out as much because we were going to different high schools.
Yeah.
And we were kind of busy with high school. So
yeah. So I'm trying to figure out like what you would pick from there, but I don't even know what your tastes are from the GameCube era. Not to say that this game is something you would. I mean, you said you thought it was pretty good.
Yeah. Not so good that I've gone back and played it, but I was like, yeah, okay, that was fine.
It's also a lot of effort to go back and play GameCube games because you have to break out the GameCube.
I mean, GameCube emulation's pretty good.
Oh, fair. Yeah, also, you did tell me about that.
My GameCube is sitting right here.
Yeah, mine's right. Up. Mine's right there.
It's not hooked up, but I could change that pretty easily.
Yeah, mine's not hooked up either. It's just a dust collector. Right. Why can't I point to it? What's happening? There we go, right there. I just can't look over there because all the games are there.
Yeah.
I highly doubt I own this game. Well, maybe. It's published by Nintendo. There's a question. Did you see this game in my collection?
I no, but I didn't take a very hard look at it, so
okay.
So I'm not going to count that as a question because it's not a solid answer.
No. Can I go look and see if it's in there?
No. Is that your 19th question?
No. Oh shit. Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna get this anyway. All I can think of is Sega games. There's no Square games that I can think of on GameCube. Oh wait, no. Well, it can't be a Square game because I already asked.
It can't be a Square game. So it's not Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles.
Yeah, that's what my brain went to. Yeah. The fact that it's published by Nintendo and it's a series. Okay, here's a question.
It's not developed by Nintendo. That's a weird one.
Yeah. Was this series up until this point? Was this series always published by Nintendo?
I will have to check.
Okay. Check that. I don't know if it'll help me at all, but if it was always published by Nintendo, maybe I can go back in time and think of a series that I'm not thinking of.
It looks that way. Let me just hit up Moby Games real quick because Wikipedia is not actually giving
helpful.
me great information on this. I'm throwing in extra key presses so you can't tell how many letters the game has in its title.
I'm not that smart.
So let's see here. Was the game always published by Nintendo? Yes, it would appear to be the case.
What? Doesn't mean they were publishing them after the GameCube for game, but they did up until that point.
See, now that we're at your guess, I can say this. Unfortunately, there is a question that you really should have asked but didn't.
Yeah, I'm thinking so.
About like maybe where these games were released.
I mean, that wouldn't help me anyway. If it was only released in Japan, for example, I wouldn't fucking know.
Well, maybe some of them were and some of them weren't, but you'll never know now. Might have helped you narrow it down.
I mean, there's only one series that I can think of that would qualify as games that some were released here and some weren't. And if it's that series, then I don't remember. I didn't even know there would have been a GameCube version of that series. I know what it would be called, so I'll have to use that as my guess. But I honestly don't even remember who the developer of those games were. I always thought it was Square, but maybe it's not. I guess I will. There's no way there was a fourth game. There was no way there. I would have heard of a fourth game in that series. I know of one. I definitely know of two. Definitely know of three. There was no fourth game, unless there was. But there wasn't. But I don't have any other guess. So I will just guess it and sound like an idiot, or maybe win with a shock and say Mother 4?
No.
Yeah, I didn't think so. I was thinking like Earthbound, Mother 1, Mother 2, Mother 3. Yeah. No. I have no fucking idea what this game is.
The game in question is Custom Robo.
No idea.
Really?
No clue.
Huh.
Definitely don't own that.
Okay. Because that was a game that Nintendo made kind of an effort. Well, I mean, Nintendo made an effort to promote a lot of their first-party published or developed games during the GameCube era. I thought for sure you would have at least heard of it.
I'm looking at the cover art. Not ringing any bells.
Really?
Nothing.
That's kind of surprising.
No, Shigeru Miyamoto worked on this?
So the game was developed by a company called Noise, which, as far as I can tell, seems to develop like pretty much exclusively for Nintendo.
For Nintendo.
Systems. They've got some mobile stuff as well, but that's much more recent. Historically,
they haven't released anything on Nintendo since GameCube, it looks like. And, 3DS.
Yeah, there's DS and 3DS stuff. They're not actually owned by Nintendo, so I wouldn't, I couldn't really say, oh yeah, they're.
I sort of screenshots of this game. Custom Robo GameCube. These screenshots. I want to see screenshots.
But there were. I don't know if the game that they released on the GameCube was like a remake of the N64 game. It was an N64 game originally, but I don't know if this is like an Animal Crossing situation where they beefed it up and re-released it on the GameCube, or if it's an original game. There's not a tremendous, because like these games haven't really gotten a ton of love.
Yeah.
And Nintendo, they tried putting out Fire Emblem in North America in this era, and it did well. And now Fire Emblem's a huge hit for them. And I guess they were trying the same thing with this, and maybe it didn't quite take off.
Didn't pan out, apparently. No. But there was previous games, though?
Yeah, like there was one on the N64. There was, I think, a DS game.
Hold on. Oh, no. Nope.
Oh, it looks like the DS game did get a North American release as well.
Yep. Okay. No, I do not recognize either the GameCube or the N64 version at all. Nothing. That is weird. I can't believe there's a Shigeru Miyamoto game that I have not heard of before. That's a rare one.
Yeah. It was fine. It wasn't it certainly wasn't a
smash hit.
No, it wasn't in depth in the way that like Armored Core was.
Mm-hmm.
The robots are like, I guess, like miniature, like almost like models or toys, but they have battles.
Yeah, the DS game has a Metacritic of 74. The GameCube has a 65.
Yeah, like it was fine. I enjoyed it, but I never
7.8 from people.
Users. Yeah, it was finishable within a rental, and it wasn't the kind of game where I was like, "Oh man, I want to play that again," or anything. Yeah. It was just like, "Yeah, that was a."
It was a 7.
That was a decent GameCube game.
Yeah, that's a 6 or a 7 type game. That's what I usually register those as. Well, all right, yeah, that's a rare one I haven't even heard of. So I don't feel too bad about that one because I don't have any idea about it. I'm glad. Well, I'm glad and not glad because I never had a chance at getting that. But as it occurs, as it happens.
Yeah, that's a continuing theme with us, is that
ones we've never heard of.
The ones that we never heard of or we don't realize meet the criteria seem to be the ones that we lose on.
I think that's the only game I haven't heard of that you picked for me. The other ones I've at least gone like, oh, I remember that game.
Yeah.
But no, this is the first one where it's a null and void for me. Yeah. It happens.
Man, boy, it sure is a good thing I didn't go with the other GameCube game I was considering.
Oh yeah, no.
Because if you haven't heard of Custom Robo, then you've definitely not heard of the other one. I was
thinking what was the other one?
Okay, I was thinking Cubivore.
Yeah, definitely not. I mean, I wouldn't have got that, but that one at least rings a bell.
That's a game where you play as an animal that looks kind of like an animal in Minecraft. They're very blocky.
How do you spell that?
Cubi.
Oh, literally Cubivore. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought for whatever reason my brain was thinking Q, like the letter Q. Cube. Oh, not Cubicore.
It was a weird one.
Oh yeah, no, I haven't heard of that one. Yep, wouldn't have got either of those. Wow, that's fucking weird. That is a trippy looking thing.
Yeah.
All right, that was video game 20 questions, which means it's time to go. If you want to reach me, I am at TJ-Leo on BlueSky, and we have reopened a Twitter account specifically for Co-op Entertainment. If you want to check that out, I post all of the video links there. But preferably,
but
if you could just...
We're not going to be posting like anything else.
Yeah, nothing else is posted. There's just our videos. So probably just sub to our YouTube channel. That would be better. But you can follow us on Twitter if you want to at co-op_entertain.
And if you want to send us questions, you can send them to...
You haven't said yours.
co.op.podcast@gmail.com. And I am also on BlueSky.
There you go.
And ninjas.bsky.social. I'm still wrapping my head around those domain things.
You can just say on Ninjas. You don't need to say that crap on the end. Because nobody else does.
Yeah, but I want to emphasize that this is on BlueSky, because fuck Twitter.
Well, that's fair. I completely agree with that.
It's so much nicer on BlueSky. There's
no assholes and negativity. Yeah. I love it. All right. Don't forget to comment, like, share, and you can click right up here to subscribe. And if you missed the last episode of Press Pause at Gaming Podcast, it's down here. All right. That has been Press Pause, a gaming podcast, episode 21. Now get back to gaming.